has heard about procedural failures and possible police corruption could have led to the theft. Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michaels.
Several witnesses who have previously appeared before the Commission are due to return, including Minister Senzo Mqunu, Major General Lesetia Sinona, and EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi, amongst others. A number of new witnesses are under subpoena to appear in coming weeks.
For the first time in South Africa's democratic history, a committee established to consider impeaching a president will sit today. The 31 members are only expected to elect a chairperson during the sitting. The impeachment committee was established a week ago after the Constitutional Court last month compelled Parliament to take steps to consider misconduct allegations against President Cyril Ramaphosa. This relates to the theft of more than $500,000 at the president's Phala farm in 2020. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
A decision by the ANC majority to vote down a 2022 report that suggested Parliament hold an impeachment inquiry is now coming back to haunt the institution. Despite President Cyril Ramaphosa last week applying for that report to be put under judicial review, Parliament will today be sticking to the instructions of the Constitutional Court and the House rules that require a committee to hold its first meeting within 5 working days of being established. However, it's not expected that the committee will get down to any serious business soon. Last week, political parties were still to submit proposals of how such a committee should conduct its business. Parliament's 2017 impeachment rules only broadly outline the process, but do not specify how an inquiry should be carried out. It's unclear whether the ANC will be scrambling to chair the committee, with some party members ostensibly reluctant to prosecute its own president. Opposition parties will no doubt be champing at the bit to nominate their own candidate to ensure the president is not shielded from full accountability. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And Iran's Revolutionary Guards say it has targeted a base used by the U.S. military this morning. The base's location has not been specified in the Guards' statements, which has been released on state television. These strikes come after the U.S. Central Command struck targets in Iran over the weekend in a statement that came just minutes after Kuwait announced it was under attack. Labeling their actions as self-defense, the U.S. says it hit Iranian radar and command and control sites for drones in Koruk, Iran and Kashim Islands. The U.S. said the attack was in response to aggressive Iranian actions, including the shooting down of a U.S. drone that was operating over international waters. The U.S. strikes mark the third time that the ceasefire between Iran and America has been violated since it was agreed in early April. The latest action comes amid a flurry of diplomatic wrangling between the Trump administration and Iran's leadership to secure a lasting ceasefire and return shipping to the Strait of Hormuz. Gold is trading at $4,502.13 an ounce. The rand is at 16.25 to the dollar, 21.89 to the pound, 18.94 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $93.37 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North approaching the Baklu interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South. This is between the Baklu turnoff and Marlborough Drive.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim has filed another application to have his testimony before the Madlanga Commission postponed.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show on this first day of June. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you are good this morning. I hope and I wish you all the best with all your plans this week. We start the show with the 702 open line. You can call us on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Guess what? We're giving away some cash vouchers on the show today. So My Way has given us 150,000 Rand in fuel vouchers to give away to listeners this week. So we'll do 3 giveaways of 5,000 Rand vouchers in fuel every single hour, all week, courtesy of My Way. So on the open line today, we'll reward our best caller with a 5,000 Rand fuel voucher. And I'll tell you how we're going to reward the other 2 5,000 Rands in the second and third hours. I'll tell you that just after 10 o'clock and just after 11 o'clock. I'll ask you a question, and if you can answer it and send us a message, you will walk away with 5,000 Rand in fuel vouchers. But for the open line, I think the producers will help me decide, but also the other listeners will help decide. The best caller on the open line today will get a 5,000 Rand fuel voucher. See, just trying to find a way to give away these fuel vouchers, because don't you need that the most now, especially in these economic times? So stay listening throughout the 3 hours today on the show as we give away these 5,000 Rand fuel vouchers courtesy of My Way. So on the open line this morning, the impeachment committee, can we talk about that? The impeachment committee is meeting today for the very first time, and they will be electing a chairperson and start their proceedings. And it seems, as reported by the Sunday Times yesterday, opposition MPs don't want an ANC member of parliament to chair the impeachment committee. So the plan by the opposition members of parliament is to block any attempt from the ANC to elect its own MP to chair the committee. So, do you agree with this posture taken by opposition MPs? And who do you think should be elected chair of the committee? I saw Musi Maimane, the leader of BOSA. His name was being mentioned as a possible candidate. He confirmed, in fact, that he has been approached by some members of parliament to chair this committee, but the official voting is going to be happening this morning. And I want to know from you, what kind of a chairperson do you think is needed for a responsibility of this magnitude? Because I think you need someone who's calm, you need someone who is a bit objective and fair, someone who fully understands the terms of reference and the mandate of the committee. In fact, wasn't Soviet Lekhanyane a great chairperson for the ad hoc committee on Mkhonazi's allegations? I think he did a good job. And that's an ANC member of parliament. He was always calm. He tried so hard to be fair in every circumstance. And I really hope we can get someone who's able to maintain that level of composure. So, should it be Musi Maimane? Who do you think should be elected as chair of the impeachment committee? By the way, the consensus also seems to be that no member of parliament from the GNU should be elected chair, because they are conflicted. So it can't be anyone from the Democratic Alliance or from the Patriotic Alliance because, well, they're in the GNU. How about Julius Malema? Do you think Julius Malema would be a great chair for this impeachment committee? I must say, I don't think he would accept that role because it's too demanding and requires you to be present the entire time. And also, remember, it's an election year. These politicians are going to be quite busy this year. So you don't want to imprison yourself, for lack of a better word, with a responsibility that's going to take you away from party activities. Because, when you're a member of that committee, you can decide when you're coming, when you're not. I mean, obviously, most times you must be present. But when circumstances demand, you can attend to other matters because you've got someone already in the committee who's representing the organization. So I wonder if Julius Malema is being considered, and I wonder if this is something he would like to take. But this is an important committee, and it requires a chairperson who actually gets it. Who is that person for you? Is it Musi Maimane? Who do you think should be elected the chair of the committee? Give me a call on 011-883-0702 or send me a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 with your suggestions and inputs. And I wonder if you agree also with the EFF's position that the Speaker of Parliament should oppose the President's review application because she is the custodian of the Section 89 report, which is being challenged by the President. And I honestly think this would be a test of independence on her part because she's the custodian of the Section 89 report. And there's no record of her ever raising concerns about how this panel went about its work. Did they understand their mandate, etc., etc.? So the report is now being challenged by the President. Shouldn't the Speaker, as the custodian of that Section 89 report, be joining the application to defend this report? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts. Also, on the Madlanga Commission, would you support the extension of the mandate of the Madlanga Commission? Why don't we actually start a petition for the mandate of the Madlanga Commission to be extended instead of doing things like the National Dialogue? Why don't we take that money and add some more to invest it in the extended Madlanga Commission? Because not only are we seeing the results in terms of referrals for investigations, because you can see their biting powers, but we also have been seeing crooks being exposed on the stand. And I honestly wouldn't mind, as a taxpayer, being told by our government that R1 billion is going towards the Madlanga Commission to extend its mandate. So I want to know if you would support that. And what shape do you think that extended mandate would take? Like, where does the commission even begin? Because there's so much rot in so many institutions. Maybe they should just be open to information from whistleblowers, right? Like people with evidence of corruption and irregularities in different departments or agencies. And then you just tell people, contact us. Tell us what information you have. And then you decide as the commission where to go. But we seriously need to root out corruption, even if it's just 10% of it. So would you be okay with the Madlanga Commission being extended? And what shape would that take? Because you don't also want to limit it to, focus on Johannesburg, focus on Mfuleni, or focus on Eskom, or focus on this other implementing agency of a government department. We want to make it as broad as possible, but it must be led by people who have evidence of wrongdoing so that the commission is able to look at that information and decide, okay, there seems to be something strong coming out of, for example, Johannesburg, so let's go for it. Let me know what your thoughts are. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Did you see the Sunday Times report yesterday? They reported on their front page about Zeng Umalo, who is a businessman here in Johannesburg, and what appears to be his links to the former city manager of the Ekurhuleni Metro. Now, I know you've seen that the Commission of Madlanga Commission has submitted its second interim report to the President, and time is kicking before the Commission reaches its deadline. And I honestly hope we're still yet to hear from people like Zeng Umalo and even Hangwani Maumela. I mean, do you think it would make sense for the Commission to conclude its work without calling this Zeng Umalo guy, who sponsored a trip on a private jet to the UK for Imogen Mashazi and her people? Imogen Mashazi, who was the city manager for Ekurhuleni, and lo and behold, it turns out this Zeng Umalo guy had links or owns a company that received millions of rands worth of tenders from Ekurhuleni when Imogen Mashazi was city manager. Now it explains why that fancy private jet trip to the UK, eh? Honestly, I think we need to start a petition. We need to start a petition for the Madlanga Commission to be extended. And I don't have the answers. I don't know what form it would take. Also, it's possible that the chair of the commission may no longer be available, or some of the investigating officers. But South Africans have a lot of confidence in the work that this commission has done. And I think instead of us spending monies on national dialogues to have conversations about things we already know about, challenges that this country is facing, let's take that money, add more of it, and invest in something we see is producing results. And by results, I don't just mean referrals to the National Prosecuting Authority for prosecutions. I'm talking about the exposure of crooks. My goodness. There are some crooks who have appeared before the Madlanga Commission, and now we know they're crooks. So they don't stand a chance of one day appearing to take up a position as, I don't know, National Police Commissioner or some top job somewhere. You would raise concerns about that because you know about their dealings. So I like that the Madlanga Commission has exposed these crooks, and we now know what they're capable of. And institutions must be careful before they even decide whether or not to work with them. And I think that is good, because justice must always be seen to be done. It's not enough that justice is being done. It must be seen to be done. And when we see these guys being asked tough questions, some of which they can't even respond to, that gives me confidence that there's an exposure of criminality and irregularity. And that's why, even if I was asked, just give us 1% more from you of your salary just so we can fund the Madlanga Commission, I would gladly do it, because it's exposing so much that needs to be exposed. What do you think? Let me know. Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. At 10:30, we're going to be studying a new series today looking at Johannesburg entities, because we don't often talk about or understand all of them fully. But these are key entities for implementing service delivery in the city. I think there are over 10 of them. There are quite a few of them, in fact. But we'll pick a few that we seldom talk about, like the Johannesburg Development Agency, the Property Company, Joburg Market, etc. Like, what are these agencies responsible for? And are they really a catalyst for service delivery in the city? And how functional and stable are they? Today, we'll start by looking at the Joburg City Parks and Zoo. At 11 o'clock, we do our Family Matters feature, and today we'll be discussing how to navigate grief that comes with adult friendships. And this conversation is actually inspired by this piece I read in the Times of India titled The Quiet Grief of Adult Friendship by Pravin Jain. And I strongly recommend that you read this piece. I will post it on Twitter as well. But one thing you realize more and more reading that piece is that friendships are one of life's most meaningful connections. But somewhere between let's catch up soon and sorry, life has been hectic, adult friendship has quietly become one of the most emotionally significant and least discussed losses of modern life. How many times do we take time to grieve the friendships we have lost? Whether because there was a fight or we just lost interest in each other or our lives took a different turn. But we lose friendships that are so meaningful to us, and we don't take time to appreciate how meaningful they were to us or grieve that loss. And today I want us to talk about how we can navigate that. We need to start opening up conversations about how painful it is actually to lose a friendship. That's what we're going to discuss on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Sam, you are calling us from Krugersdorp. You are our first caller this morning on the open line. Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Shop, man. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. I'm thinking this committee has...
Oh, Sam, I'm not happy with your line, my brother. Let me put you back, yeah? Let's try fix that line. You sound a bit muffled. I'm putting you back to the producers to try and sort that out. I'll come back to you. Khomotso, in the meantime, let's come to you. You're in Pretoria. Good morning.
Yes, how are you, Clement?
Hey, Kimnat, Wena?
All right, man. You happen to be my homie, but we'll talk about that. For
Where are
now,
you from, Khomotso?
Falbank. Yeah.
Where? Which side of Falbank?
Stadium.
Go Stadium. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you for calling. It's always great to have people call in from who grew up in the same village I grew up in. Go ahead.
Yes, you know what, Clement.
Yeah.
I am of the view that the commission should continue. Yes, only because of whatever that is happening in the country. We have the Home Affairs and Immigration departments, which has cost the country about this much and illegal immigrants. People might not understand and have or be in those shoes of the people, the one that are not privileged to be having jobs, etc. Whereas illegal immigrants are occupying those positions. So I am of the view that these departments should be and must be investigated and be held accountable, not forgetting the municipalities where service delivery has not been done, has not been provided, and municipalities have been under administration. You know, just for now, you can see Tshwane, what is happening in Tshwane, etc. So I think the petition, the general public should make a petition or get a legal advice as to how do they get this to draw up a petition whereby people, or an online petition whereby people can contest and have this in continuation.
I agree. Khomotso in Pretoria, thank you so much for your call. I don't know, what do we do? Do you start a petition? Because I do think that it's only when government is put under pressure, if our president is put under pressure, as South Africans, if you think also, first of all, agree that this is so important and you put pressure on the president, I think he'll heed that. And he may extend the mandate of the commission. And as I said, I'm not saying I've got the answers. I don't know what shape this extended mandate would take because there's so much rot almost everywhere. But I think maybe it must be led by evidence. If people are calling, emailing them and sharing information with them as whistleblowers, and there's evidence of corruption, I think then they follow the lead and they just follow the money and where the irregularities are, I think. But my goodness, instead of spending money, so much money on the national dialogue, we must dialogue. And I'm not saying having conversations is not important, but I'm saying, honestly, I think I would rather use that money for something that has got more biting power, something that I know is going to give us results, something that I know is going to expose some crooks out there who've been sitting comfortably and enjoying their ill-gotten millions. And I wouldn't mind, even if it's over R1 billion being spent on a commission that we can see is doing work and is showing us results. Sam, you're calling from Krugersdorp. What do you want to say about the impeachment committee? Good morning.
Oh, morning, Clem, and your listeners.
Sure.
Thanks
Go
for
ahead.
taking my call. I'm saying if I were a member of this committee, and I certainly was not in the ANC camp, the smartest thing for them to do would be to actually push for chairmanship to be coming from the ANC, because in my view, I think they are already under pressure not to be seen to be on the wrong. So I take an example of what happened with the speaker, for instance. You see how swift she was in her response to putting this thing to get to start it off already. So similarly, I would adopt the same approach and say, no, let's have the ANC chairing this thing, because they would actually be under more pressure to be seen to be doing the right things than if we have an opposite chairperson. Because when they don't have chairmanship, they are likely to then frustrate the process.
Yeah, but also they don't have the numbers, remember, Sam? So their frustration wouldn't really work. They only have 9 seats out of what, about 22 or so. So
yeah, but who else has got more than 9?
Yeah, no one else. They've got more.
See, so they still can frustrate the process by making such and maybe this and that objection, wasting time there and there just to push and allow their president to actually push that agenda in the courts.
Yeah, and that's when you need a chairperson who is quite good with the job and understands the mandate and is able to also intervene if there's some kind of filibustering. But yeah, I hear you, Sam. In Krugersdorp, you think the ANC chairmanship might be better for the commission. Let's see what the other listeners think. Let's go to Mnetisi in Lyndhurst. Mnetisi, what do you think? Good morning.
Morning, Clement. I personally think that Musi Maimane would be a good candidate because I think people want a bit of impartiality. And if we were to have an ANC MP chairing that committee, even if he can do a good job, as we've seen with Soviet Likanyane, but now this is a bit of a difficult one because now this is their president. And if you're in the GNU, that's also your president. You are serving as a minister because of him. So I think Maimane, to my knowledge, is also not come out and said, I'm on the coalition for the left and that. So he would be a guy, I mean, compared to Malema would seem to have vendetta against Ramaphosa, because of whatever he says that we know of. So I think Maimane, for me, it will give confidence to people. I don't know if it will work because obviously the ANC has got 9, seats and that. But yeah, I think for impartiality, I would feel better if it's someone like him. Okay. That's just my point.
All right, Mnetisi in Lyndhurst, thank you. Sebastian in El Dorado Park, what do you want to say about the Madlanga Commission? Hi.
Clement, good morning and good morning to the listeners. Clement, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. This commission needs to be extended, and I don't care how long it takes, Clement. We need to clean the rot. They must go to eThekwini. They must go to Maritzburg. They must go to Johannesburg, Clement, even to Cape Town, to Kadeha, to the length and breadth of this country. Because, as I said to you, we need to reset, Clement. And when I'm hearing the way evidence is coming out, we need evidence-based. Even the judiciary needs to be investigated, Clement. And I'm not saying there's anything there, but let's clean the rot. The NPA also needs to be investigated. SASA needs to be investigated. The hospitals, Clement, this thing runs deep. And it's the private sector, Clement. The private sector, it's not only government that is involved in corruption and bribery. The private sector is also involved. So we need a thorough investigation. We need to come clean, Clement, and I don't mind even paying extra tax for this month. They can ring-fence this tax for the Madlanga Commission because doing great work.
Got you. Sebastian, in El Dorado Park, thank you. And yeah, look, obviously we're not saying, oh yeah, just go investigate this. That's why I'm saying they can't walk in blind. We need some evidence. Like, if I work for some agency of the city of Johannesburg and I've got evidence of corruption and I reveal that as a whistleblower to the Madlanga Commission, and then they decide, okay, this is enough for us to start acting on, and then they ask more people with information to come forward, and then they go to that agency. So as opposed to someone who says, oh, there's corruption in the judiciary, just go. No. Otherwise, there's no beginning and end. Yeah? You can't go on a fishing expedition. You still need to be able to know what you're investigating. Like now, they're investigating allegations of corruption and political interference in the justice system, right? And there has been some evidence that's been provided to them that suggests and sort of proves some of these allegations. So they must still be led by information. So that's if that mandate gets extended, they're going to depend on you and I, who work in these agencies, in these departments, in these companies where we have seen hectic corruption, for us to come forward. Are we willing to do that? And are we willing to say to our government, even if it's R1 billion, pay it, invest in it, because that is helping us reset? More of your calls and WhatsApps after the break. It's 9:31. Siso has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim has filed another application to have his testimony before the Madlanga Commission postponed. The application will be heard this morning when the Commission resumes its hearings. Karim was due to testify on the 29th of April, but this was postponed to a later date due to his ill health. The DA says it will lay criminal charges against former disgraced Ekurhuleni city manager Imogen Mashazi today. Mashazi is accused of benefiting from a luxury trip in 2022, allegedly funded through companies that have business dealings with the metro. Mashazi appeared at the Madlanga Commission a few months ago, where she responded to allegations of abusing her power and failing to take action against senior officials accused of misconduct. And a teenager who was reported missing at a river in England has died. The 13-year-old was rescued and taken by air ambulance to hospital, where she later passed away. The number of deaths in open water in the UK over the last 8 days has reached 17 following a record-breaking heatwave. Sky News is reporting that the spell of hot weather attracted many people to open water swimming, resulting in fatalities in places like South Yorkshire and West Yorkshire and Cornwall, as well as Hampshire. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While traveling in the Baku interchange area, we still have got those delays there due to the long-term roadworks that are taking place heading towards Midrand. Do expect delays there. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 South. This is between the Baku interchange and Marlborough Drive. Traveling on the N3 North, delays between the Yelands interchange and Van Buren. Speaking of Van Buren Road, we've got an accident reported right along the N3 South at Van Buren Road, causing heavy traffic volumes. Please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
When South Africa's biggest artists pull up on one stage, you just know that the hottest music fest of the year is going down, right? Scatterling's Music Festival happens on the 1st of August and features Zakes Bantwini, Java, Sunel Musician, Jay Something, Msaki, Jesse Clegg, Simi, Trezor, Sminofu, and more. And it's going to be a big day filled with all the big hits live. So grab your tickets at webtickets.co.za now for Scatterling's Music Festival, Huddle Park, Johannesburg on the 1st of August, brought to you by 702.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you're not just buying a plan, you're also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover, as well as transport, grocery, and unveiling benefits. Apply today. It's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Ready to buy your dream car, put an offer in on a new house, or take out that personal loan? Make 2026 your year with Postnet and Huru. Visit your nearest Postnet store to get a comprehensive credit report from 4 of SA's leading credit bureaus sent straight to your phone. For only 135 Rand, take charge of your future with a clear picture of your financial position and how to improve it. Why second guess your credit rating when you can be certain? Get your Huru and Kudo credit report at Postnet today. Postnet, helping you succeed.
My name is Richard Sutton, and I'm the host of the podcast Shift Happens. This podcast is about you and the seasons of growth, change, and transformation that shape who you become. My guests are people who have walked long, difficult roads and along the way developed the tools and skills they needed not just to survive, but to thrive and make a real impact in the world. So if you're feeling stuck, uncertain, or searching for what's next, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Shift Happens. Now streaming on primemediaplus.com, the Prime Media Plus app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
24 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We've been talking about the impeachment committee in Parliament, which will be meeting for the first time today. And the mission today is to elect the chairperson of that committee. And I've been asking you who you think should be elected chair. And do you agree with the opposition MPs who seem to have taken this collective decision to somehow deny the ANC any possibility of having their MP become chair because they feel, well, they're conflicted here. So the opposition MPs seem they want someone from within the opposition parties, except those parties that are in the GNU, to be considered for the position of chair. And that's why Mmusi Maimane has come out a lot in those conversations. But it could really go either way. The ANC has about 9 seats, so not enough out of all the over 20 seats. So they probably may be outvoted. But is there some kind of collective understanding and agreement on who should be the chair? So that's one of the conversations we're having on the open line this morning. We're also talking about the Madlanga Commission. Should it be extended, its mandate? And how do we, if the majority of South Africans see the good work the Madlanga Commission has done, how do we collectively put pressure on the president to consider extending the mandate of the commission? And instead of having the national dialogues, we actually invest that money and more on the work of the Madlanga Commission, because we see that what they have been doing has produced some results. And by results, I don't just mean these prosecutions that have been referred, like possible prosecutions of these some of these people accused of wrongdoing. I'm talking about just the exposure of the crooks, because there are some people that we've always respected, whether it's as top cops or as top business people, but they've got shenanigans. And they have been exposed at the commission, and it's been beautiful to watch that, because that is a sounding alarm to us as South Africans. Would you support the extension of that commission? I mean, if you were told, choose, do you want the national dialogue or do you want the Madlanga Commission to continue? What do you pick? Do you want to just sit and have conversations about challenges and problems we know about this country? Or do you actually want a commission with investigative powers, with biting powers, to do the work that ultimately leads to some kind of recourse or consequence management? Let's start with your WhatsApps on 0727021702.
Morning, Clement. I'm a first-time caller. I'm calling from Vosloorus. I think I agree with you totally with having to petition seriously for the Madlanga Commission to be extended. We have discovered they've uprooted a lot of rot. May they just continue to do that and make sure that those people are put behind bars or they are charged in whichever way they need to be charged. I totally agree with you. Thanks. Have a lovely day further.
Good morning, Clement. Pedro here in Johannesburg City Deep. I do support the extension of Madlanga Commission. The money that is being stolen from corruption can be used to fund Madlanga. So, yes, crime won't eradicate it, but let us not make criminals feel comfortable. Criminals must have a fear. They must know that if I do something, it's highly likely that I am going to suffer the consequences.
Clement, I think we are starting on a positive note, as you mentioned, that the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee, they're led by an ANC cadre. That means if we really want this institution to work, they can actually work. It's just that we are not giving it enough oversight over it. But I think a national dialogue is also important. Remember, we also have a wave of xenophobic attacks or Afrophobic attacks as well. So we really need to talk about our issues. I saw over the weekend there was a meeting of the left trying to analyze their position. So that means that we are a working nation. We just have to strengthen our institution to work better, to have an oversight. Remember, even the Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni, was also scrutinized on social media. For the first time, I saw something from that office. So that means that if we want to work, we can work. Sfiso.
What you are saying, it's a good idea that needs to be supported. If someone can start it, and let's support it. We need that. We need to extend Madlanga Commission. We need that. We need it in all spheres of this country. In more municipalities, in Parliament, we need Madlanga Commission. We really need the SOEs of this country. So we need that Madlanga Commission. If anyone knows how to draft it, let's do it, and then let's support it, the petition. Thank you, Clement.
Yeah, hey. Let's go to Monwabisi, who is calling from Midrand. Good morning.
Good, Clement.
Sharp, man. How are you?
I'm fine, Clement. On the Madlanga extension mandate, Clement, you know, the commissions are regulated by the Commissions Act, and they are supposed to be short-lived, Clement, and investigate a certain issue of public
interest. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't believe, Clement, that will be the right course. But I want to amend your proposal, Clement. You see, the SIU, Clement, the way it is arranged, Clement, it does not. We must have only one SIU. That is why you will see that the Act says you might establish a new commission, a new SIU, or refer the matter to an existing SIU. So if we can have SIU, like we have the one that is existing, Clement, and then remains at the national, then you might have one that look at the provinces and one that look at the local municipalities. Or you can have one SIU per province and one at the national. You see, Clement, so to look at these issues.
I see that, but I've got two concerns, Monwabisi. I do think that could work in a way, but my two concerns are I'm a bit wary of these state institutions because sometimes they get led by people who end up protecting those that are in power. For instance, the SIU has been existing for so long, but a lot of the people only start knowing about the SIU in recent time. Because you had a head of an SIU who was serious about doing the work and doing investigation and exposing the rot. But previously, you had an SIU that was led by people who were protecting even like Bosasa. I mean, there was an SIU report on Bosasa. For years, nothing was done about that report. So I'm wary of the state institutions in that regard, in that sometimes they form alliances with those that are in power and they end up protecting them. Look at what's happening in the SAPS and the kind of investigations that have been scuppered just because there's a top cop somewhere who is close to some criminal and they give that criminal even confidential information. This is why I'm saying when we have these sort of independent people in the form of the Madlanga Commission, those people are not part of the state. Those people are just independently doing the work. And it doesn't have to be forever and ever. We could set a deadline of 2 years, 3 years. I mean, the State Capture Commission took for so long. We could just set a deadline and say, this is the deadline. Let's go and check what are the places to go in to go and investigate. But secondly, and lastly, Mohau, my second concern about the suggestion you're giving about the SIU is that the investigations are done somehow behind the scenes. And all we know is, oh, this person is now being referred for criminal prosecution or assets are being attached. What I've appreciated about the Madlanga Commission is that we are seeing people being exposed live. And I think that is important. We're seeing people being asked tough questions that they can't even respond to because it shows how much of crooks some of them are. And I think that is important because South Africans can see that justice is being done. And it's not enough that these people just get referred for further investigations. What do you think about?
No, I agree with especially with your criticism of the SIU, because it has been existing and there are investigations that have been taking for more than 10 years, for instance, now, and we haven't transpired out of those investigations. So can establish this commission along the lines, this SIU, along the lines of the commission, guarantee their independence, Clement.
Yeah.
They must not become part of the state apparatus. They must be independent. And Clement, the openness, the transparency, they can have the investigation just like the commission is operating in the open.
Yeah.
They have those public hearings where the people are subject and all of that. Thirdly, and they must be, of course, as you are saying, there must be a time frame on any investigation that they take. They must not take long, Clement. It must take a maximum of 2 years.
Yeah, so that we see work being done. Yeah, Monobisi, I hear you. I think those are great suggestions. I just have those two concerns. I think we still need to see people. Look at Salim. What's his name? Suleiman Karim, the businessman from the Northwest. How many times did this chap attempt to avoid being brought before the Madlanga Commission? How many times? He tried to go to court. He tried to bring in lawyers to argue something. He tried to supposedly be in hospital and sick. Recently, we are told that he's also been sent to hospital. I don't know how serious, the issue is now. But I know previously he's come up with every single attempt to try and avoid appearing before the Madlanga Commission. And the day he appeared, he couldn't answer some of the most basic of questions. And that helped us understand what kind of a man he is and how he has been running his businesses. Why wouldn't we want other business people who operate in that manner to be exposed live? And I think that's going to serve as a deterrent. When you've got a commission like that sits people up there and asks them tough questions, I bet you the next time someone wants to be involved in corruption, they'll think twice, because they know that one day they may end up on the chair, on the hot seat at the Madlanga Commission, being exposed in front of the entire world. So that serves as a deterrent. And that's why I think extend the mandate of this commission. We can talk about what form it will take, but we've seen the work it's doing. We've seen the benefits of that. And instead of just sitting and talking about issues we already know are the challenges of this country, I think more priority should be placed on rooting out the rot in our institutions. It's 11 minutes before 10.
As winter settles across South Africa, more families are struggling to maintain food security. Rising fuel costs and high food prices are placing enormous pressure on vulnerable households. Food Forward SA needs your help. Every contribution you make helps provide meals to communities facing hunger and hardship this winter. At just 47 cents a meal, your 50 Rand donation can provide 100 meals. Visit foodforwardsa.org, click donate, and make your contribution today.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
How's it, But? It's Jason here, your favorite gymfluencer.
Jason, still lifting more than your selfie stick?
Always, But. Gotta stay shredded, eh? But, I'm worried about one thing. What if a major illness hits? Who's got my back?
Relax, Jason. Momentum's critical illness cover is your spotter. It offers the most comprehensive cover in the market.
Buddy, I'm signing up faster than I could do 10 reps. But I'm worried about something else, eh?
Let me guess. How many protein shakes it takes before you turn into the incredible bulk?
No, man. Will anyone notice if I skip a leg day?
Chat to your financial advisor about Momentum's critical illness cover. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
From the people who know FICA best, Encino KYC invites you to the 2026 Fighting Financial Crime Conference. Join top prosecutors, investigators, and compliance leaders for a day of real-world case studies, practical strategies, and powerful networking. 24th of June in Johannesburg, and tickets are on sale now. Simply Google Encino Fighting Financial Crime. That's NCINO. Proudly brought to you by Encino KYC. Fighting financial crime isn't just talk, it's what we do every day.
702 was in conversation with Sizekaya Holdings, the new operator of the National Lottery, discussing the next chapter of the National Lottery.
We are R4 ready. We're now cementing everything, ensuring that systems are in place.
What excites you about this new chapter at Sizekaya Holdings?
So innovation, Clement, is as important as it is part of our philosophy. Innovation being at the core of our systems and our business model has been paramount and has been at the forefront of us from the bidding stage all the way to where we are now. It sets us apart from the previous operators in terms of our agility to think and to adapt and make sure that the consumer's journey has a world-class national lottery experience.
702, in conversation with Sizekaya Holdings, the new home of the National Lottery. Sizekaya is licensed and regulated. No persons under the age of 18 permitted to play. Play responsibly.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
8 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls. Michelle, let's start with you in Rand Park. Good morning. What are your thoughts?
Good morning, Clement. Thank you. Good morning to your listeners. Clement, I 100% agree that the commission must continue. We've seen over the past few months how beneficial it's been. So many people are exposed. Drug cartels, political killings, criminal SAPS. I mean, we as taxpayers, we have a right to demand this. I think some of the bodies that are fighting for justice in South Africa need to take the lead and then gather support, and 100% I'm sure we're going to get support. It's something that is a priority in this country. Look how much has been exposed. The rot is deep and the rot is everywhere. We need a new slate, a clean slate. We need to start again. There's a big problem in this country, and it's unfair to the people that are working and paying taxes, and yet other people become millionaires overnight.
Yeah.
There are people that are living in homes where there's one parent. Kids are starving. They can't afford to send their kids to school. And yet we're letting people, thugs like these, get away with millions and billions. Is that fair? The president needs to wake up. The parliament needs to wake up. Where they get the money from, we don't care. We want it to continue.
Yeah.
This is just bloody unfair.
It is. Michelle, in Rand Park, absolutely agree with you. Stelo, in Brakpan, what are your thoughts? Hi. What do you want to say about the impeachment committee?
Hi, Clement. First of all, I must say your passion about this matter is so admirable. I'm sitting here being mesmerized by you. I am thinking, gosh, why did I call? Because now I want to talk about the Madlaga thing, because I have a different view, but I call for a different case altogether.
Yeah.
In the first place, everything we are saying, even what the parliament is doing now with this impeachment thing, is premature. This thing is not going to sit. The president has already made an application for a review. It is not inconceivable in my eyes, Clement, that parliament should be fair. They should not want to insist to have two parallel processes. But if they continue, he's going to interdict it. I don't see why any court would not grant him the prayers that he will be asking for. But in any event, if we're entertaining who should sit, I accept that the ANC perhaps can be said to be conflicted, but the MK and the EFF must in no way share that thing. And I know that even if the DA and the ANC do not agree, they agree on one thing, MKP and EFF will not share that thing. So the chairperson is probably, in my view, most likely going to come from the smaller parties who are not too close to the ANC, but far from the MKP and the EFF. I can see a song as rising up. I can see someone for the IFP rising up. I believe someone from Al Jamal. But the African National Congress will most certainly have a say on who chairs that thing.
Songezo is not in the committee, remember, Astelo. It's actually Makashule Ghana.
Yeah, actually, I meant someone from Rise and Zant. You know, these politicians have become such character. If you think MKP, you're thinking Cholos, and so on and so forth. So, and by the way, that will be a win for the ANC, for MKP, and I mean, Bossa is not going to sit because one of the mistakes these politicians are doing is basic stuff. They are already speaking every day able to push away the lure of publicity. They are speaking about their desired outcomes before this whole thing starts. So they're already compromised. We know that on the very first day that the Concord said this thing, EFF was going around through Malema saying the Constitution had won. I don't think the Constitution had won. If anything, it had lost. It was instructed to change. But as a post-constitutional order had won the day, he wanted Ramaphosa on the day to be arrested, and the next day it was vote of no confidence. The next day it was resignation immediately. So all those guys, in my view, are already compromised. I wouldn't mind a DA person rising up because they have been somewhat calculated in what they have said. But certainly the NC will have its way either way, even if the chair does not come from them.
Why? How will they have their way? I mean, they don't have enjoyed the majority in the committee.
Well, yes, of course. But I mean, look at it this way: without the DA and the MKP, no one can decide on. I mean, the DA and the ANC, no one can decide on anything. So if those two people can't find each other, their best bet is the smaller parties. The smaller parties are more likely to be antagonistic to MKP and EFF than they are to the ANC.
But they're all united, Stella, on making sure that the president is accountable. Also, remember, regardless of how some parties may be in the GNU or not, they also are looking after their party interests. And I think that's what makes it a lot more trickier here. So it's not as easy as, oh yeah, we're part of the GNU, so we protect the president. There's a lot at stake here. And I think even the DA or even the IFP, maybe except the Patriotic Alliance, but some of these parties understand how critical this moment is, and it requires them to also show up as opposition parties, even though they're in the GNU, because they made that commitment that us being in the GNU is not going to compromise on us holding collectively this executive accountable. Stelo in Brakbando, thank you so much for your call. It's 2 minutes before 10 o'clock. The 702 Josie, my Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday, the 26th of July. Babiza bonke. And this year, you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 8-kilometer on 44 Main Street route takes you from Ellis Park through Maboneng and Joel City, past the Field of Dreams and Maharashi Invisibility Institute. You then go through the Main Street Precinct, Gandhi Square, and past the Carlton Center, finishing off at Ellis Park. So whether you are taking on the 8-kilometer, 5-kilometer, or 15-kilometer route, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
In the AI race, most businesses are left to figure it out on their own. But what if the ultimate AI assistant was already built into the tools your team uses every single day? Well, this Thursday from 6 a.m., 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingo will be in conversation with leading Google Cloud distributor DigiCloud Africa. They'll explain how to securely scale, collaborate smoothly, and get real return on investment from AI. So tune in to 702 in conversation with DigiCloud Africa.
Let's walk the talk.
This is Clement Manyathela
on 702.
It's 10 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim has filed another application to have his testimony before the Madlanga Commission postponed. The application is being heard this morning as the Commission resumes its hearings. Karim was due to testify on the 29th of April, but this was postponed to a later date due to his ill health. Karim is implicated in the irregular 360 million rand SAPS tender scored by his business associate, Vusmuzi Kat Matlala. The DA says it will lay criminal charges against former disgraced Ekurhuleni City manager Imogen Mashazi today. Mashazi is accused of benefiting from a luxury trip in 2022, allegedly funded through a company that has business dealings with the Metro. Mashazi appeared at the Madlanga Commission a few months ago, where she responded to allegations of abusing her power and failing to take action against senior officials accused of misconduct. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The DA says Imogen Mashazi should be investigated for the trip she undertook with her husband and 2 other people in 2022. The party says the charges stem from reports linking her to the 3.5 million rand luxury trip involving a private jet. News 24 is reporting that businessman Zengxumalo financed the trip through his company Zig Revenue Management, while the Sunday Times says the trip was bankrolled by Z Solutions, an IT and engineering company which had 5 contracts with the city during Mashazi's tenure. Both publications says the key player in chartering the jet was Nxumalo, who has been mentioned at the Madlanga Commission for his alleged links to high-ranking police officials. Nxumalo has denied funding Mashazi's trip. The DA's Katuchelo Rasilingwani.
The DA strongly believes that this warrant a full criminal investigation, and therefore we will open that criminal case in the Germiston area.
Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng municipalities are expected to appear before the South African Human Rights Commission from tomorrow to report on progress in improving service delivery. There will be a sharp focus on persistent water supply challenges. Municipal officials will be required to update the Commission on efforts to reduce water loss and infrastructure maintenance. Gauteng COGTA spokesperson Theo Nkonki says the hearings are aimed at improving accountability and ensuring residents have reliable access to basic services.
The outcomes of the South African Human Rights Commission hearings are expected to further strengthen existing interventions and support the acceleration of service delivery initiatives in municipalities, especially those experiencing water supply challenges.
In the Western Cape, a woman has been busted trying to defraud the police. Kathleen Hendricks has pleaded guilty to a charge of money laundering in Oudtshoorn on Friday. Hawks investigators say she falsely claimed 57,490,000 was taken from her in a police raid in 2018. The Hawks' Zinziani explains the claim followed the 2018 arrest of a taxi driver who was busted with the cash and 200 worth of drugs, or rather 200 rand worth of drugs, while traveling to Oudtshoorn.
The taxi driver was arrested. The drugs and the money were seized. Upon further investigation, it was established that the drug dealer instructed Kathleen Hendricks to go to the police station to submit a statement where she declared that the 57,490 belonged to her.
Ani says Kathleen Hendricks drew up an affidavit that was riddled with lies, alleging that the money seized in the drug bust belonged to her.
As a result, the court issued on 23rd October 2025 a J175 summons was issued and served on Kathleen Hendricks to appear in court. On 14 November 2025, the High Court granted a forfeiture order to the amount of 57,490.
And a teenager who was reported missing at a river in England has died. The 13-year-old was rescued and taken by air ambulance to hospital, where she later passed away. The number of deaths in open water in the UK over the last 8 days has reached 17 following a record-breaking heatwave. Sky News is reporting that the spell of hot weather attracted many people to open water swimming, resulting in deaths in places like South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, Cornwall and Hampshire. Gold is trading at $4,502.13 an ounce. The rand is at 16.25 to the dollar, 21.89 to the pound, 18.94 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $93.37 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got delays on the M1 South approaching Marlborough Drive coming out of the Baku interchange while travelling in Crown City. There's queuing traffic on the M2 West. That's between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Controversial Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim has filed another application to have his testimony before the Madlanga Commission postponed.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I hope your day is going well so far. And thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. And speaking of the 702 open line, today you get to walk away with something for just calling in and sharing your opinion or view on any of the conversations we had on the open line. So, remember, I told you when I started the show that My Way has given us about 150 or so thousand rand in fuel vouchers to give away to you this week. So this entire week, we're going to be giving away 3 5,000 rand fuel vouchers every single hour, all week. And this is courtesy of My Way. My Way, live your way. So on the open line, I said, how are we going to give you the 5,000 rand? Then we thought with the producers that, okay, we'll reward the best caller with 1 voucher in the first hour. And then in the second hour, which is this hour, I'm going to be asking you a question. And when you respond, then we will give you the 5,000 rand fuel voucher. I won't give you the question now. I'll give it to you at 10:30. The question just after the headlines or just before the headlines. And then I'll ask you a question. I don't want to give it to you now because I don't want you to start sending all the messages now. I'm going to give it to you at 10:30. I'm going to ask you a very simple question around petrol, fuel, and preserving it. And then we'll choose also just the best response. And then we'll issue out that 5,000 rand fuel voucher. So the question now is, who walks away with 5,000 rand fuel voucher for a great contribution on the open line? As you know, I think all of the contributions are great, right? But we have to choose one. And how do you choose one? You listen to, okay, who called us and, suggested something that's different or made us think differently about something. And the team here has decided that Monwabisi is the one who was probably the best caller on the open line today. And in fact, it was between Stelo and Monwabisi. And I mean, his line was not so great, but I think we got the point that he was making around the impracticality of the Madlanga Commission being extended. And he gave reasons for that, right? And what the Constitution says around the period of time these commissions must be undertaken, etc., etc. But also, was able to give suggestions about maybe we need to look at the SIU because of how we've seen the great work they've been doing. Maybe we've got provincial SIUs. So that was one of the suggestions that he gave. So in case you forgot, here's how he put up his point.
I agree with that, especially with your question of the SIU. Because they have been existing and there are investigations that have been taking for more than 10 years, for instance, now, and we haven't not transpired out of those investigations. So can establish this commission along the lines, this SIU, along the lines of the commission, guarantee their independence, Clement.
Yeah.
They must not become part of the state apparatus. They must be independent. And Clement, the openness, the transparency, they can have the investigation just like the machine is operating in the open.
Yeah.
Those public hearings where the people are suffering
Mm.
and all of that. Thirdly, and there
Oh.
must be, of course, as you are saying, there must be a time frame on any investigation that they take. They must still take long, Clement.
Mm.
It must take a maximum of 2 years.
Yeah, so that's what Monwabisi said on the 702 open line. As I say, the line was not so great, but I think we did get the points that he was raising. So the team has decided that he is the one that walks away with 5,000 Rand fuel voucher, courtesy of My Way. My Way, live your way. So congratulations to you, Monwabisi. In fact, I've got him on the line now. Thank you so much, Monwabisi, for coming back. How are you? How are you feeling, man? Hey, Monwabisi,
Hello?
can you hear us?
Yes, Clement. I can hear you, Clement.
So you have won 5,000 Rand worth of fuel voucher because you had one of the best contributions on the 702 open line this morning.
Wow, Clement, wow!
Are you excited? Well,
I'm
clearly you
excited.
are. Yeah, you are excited. Well, congratulations to you, Monwabisi. Truly appreciate it. And as I always say, I appreciate your contributions on the open line. And thanks to My Way, we can actually reward you for calling in. And if you give us one of the best contributions on the open line that makes us think deeper about something. So, congratulations, Monwabisi. Don't worry, we still have these 2 hours to go. I'll be asking you a question at 10:30 and 11:30. If you give us one of the best responses, I'm going to give you another 5,000 Rand fuel voucher, courtesy of My Way. My Way, live your way. It's 12 minutes now after 10 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Okay, what's happening with Bafana players and SAFA? There's something that's really going on at SAFA because we have complained a number of times about how administratively things are being run there. So I've got a statement here that was released today, not so long ago, from SAFA because there was an emergency meeting yesterday. Remember, there was this issue with Bafana staff or footballers and some of the staff members who were supposed to leave for Mexico, I think, over the weekend, but they were not able to do so because there were issues with their visas. So there's a statement that's just dropped from SAFA. I want to read it to you, and then I want to bring in the Deputy Minister of Arts and Culture and bring in a sports journalist who can help us understand what this truly means. But what they're saying is Bafana will depart for Mexico today on the 1st of June after visas were secured for all the players yesterday on Sunday the 31st. The South African Football Association held an emergency committee meeting on Sunday night, the 31st of May, where a number of issues around the South African senior men's national team's delayed travel plans to Mexico were discussed by the members. It was revealed in the meeting that the only outstanding visas are for 4 members of the camp. However, SAFA is working closely with the relevant authorities to ensure that they are aboard the flight to North America. To strengthen operational coordination during the FIFA World Cup, SAFA can further reveal that a 3-member organizing committee has been established to manage the team's administrative affairs during the 2026 FIFA World Cup, comprising of Bafana head of delegation, David Mulwantwa, SAFA chairperson of the finance committee, Mxolisi Sibam, together with team manager Vincent Tseka. The 3 will work closely in ensuring that any logistical or administrative matters that may arise during the global tournament are dealt with expeditiously. While the visa delays resulted in the team losing a valuable day in its travel and preparation schedule, SAFA is satisfied that the matter has now been substantially resolved and that the team's World Cup plans remain firmly on course. And lastly, they say, SAFA apologizes to the nation for these unexpected travel delays and would like to thank the Department of International Relations for their assistance, as well as the U.S. Consulate in Johannesburg, who went beyond their call of duty over the weekend to ensure that the visas were issued for all our players to travel. This year's FIFA World Cup will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from the 11th of June to the 19th of July 2026. So that's the latest statement that's come from SAFA. Let's bring in the Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Peace Mabe, on the line to us now. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners.
what's clear from at least what I've picked up is this could have been avoided. Do you have information as the Sports and Arts and Culture Department as to what really happened here?
Well, I must say that we were not informed about these challenges because we also have relations with DERCO and the minister and DMs in DERCO. We could have intervened, so we were not aware. And it came to us as a surprise as well because when we qualified, when we learned that we have qualified, we had to sit as the department and work out on a strategy. I remember in one of the meetings, early stages when we qualified, the minister immediately applied for his visa because it is clear that he's going. We even joked about it that you will be reshuffled before the World Cup dates arrived. But he said, no, this is how we prepare, I think they just failed, in terms of planning. And I will repeat what I said yesterday, even though people say I sound like an aggrieved Rakhadi. The center is not holding. And when they say that it is part of their admin, that admin support, doctors and others that did not get their visas, then I don't know what to say anymore. I rest my case. Those ones were not subjected to any selection. So those were the first people to be applying for their visas. So their internal squabbles are affecting the running of the institution.
Yeah. How much confidence do you have in this team that they've now appointed? I mean, it really shocks me that only now they're appointing this team that's going to be dealing with logistics. They're a 4-member team that's going to be established to manage the team's administrative affairs during the World Cup, and it comprises of all these different people that I've mentioned. I would have thought this is actually this is a team you establish in the beginning. Once you know that we qualify, there's a lot of administrative headway to go through. So you actually appoint a team to make sure that all is going to be in order. And they're doing this now reactively.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate statement that they've released now to say that they have appointed a team. So it shows that they've just been working haphazardly and not being coordinated. Hence, last minute, then they realized, we didn't apply for other players' visas. But if the center was holding, if they had systems and they were communicating internally, the first thing that they could have done was to apply for all the players, 36 of them or 30 of them, because they knew that out of these 36, we want 26. And also, there are unforeseen circumstances. Then if something happens to 3 or 4 of them, what are they going to do? Because they must replace. So it means you don't even restrict yourself for just applying for the 26 that must travel. You apply even for more, even if they are not selected, in case something happens. There are no guarantees. I might be talking to you now, I might die tomorrow morning. So if that happens, then what? The whole country is going to now be disadvantaged because of now others' visas went. So that is called proper management, putting systems in place and being accountable. I think SAFA, without me being a bad Rakhadi, they need that. The center is not holding. They don't have administration. They are busy with what we don't know. And what makes me sad is that a small negative statement or issue that can go into the brains of those that are supposed to go play and make us happy. Their spirits will be dampened.
You
they
need
will
to
be
avoid
demoralized.
anything that demoralizes
We need to avoid that. It's like a child who's going to write matric. You try by all means to say, Nana, are you okay? That's why we establish camps so that they go there. It's time for them to be motivated, not to be hearing us talking negative things on radio and where's their visas are not approved.
Will you be asking them to come and account and explain what happened?
Of course, yes, they must come and account. Because a day without these boys traveling, it has got financial implications. But coupled to that, it also impacts on their on their traveling schedule, and they are
And
planning,
preparation.
and they are and preparations. Now they've lost 2 days because Mexico is also very far, very, very far.
Yeah,
So
it is.
it means now they're going to travel, they get there, they are late, they cannot practice, they cannot rest. If they don't win, they come back, then rubber blame. We forget that what we did implicated negatively into their energy as well.
Yeah, let's hope that they're still going to have their spirits lifted. Deputy Minister Peace Mabe, thank you for joining us for this chat. She's the Sports, Arts and Culture Deputy Minister. I want to bring in Mawande Mateza, our EWN colleague here at 702, who is an EWN sports reporter joining me on the line. Mawande, thank you so much for also coming through. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you very much for having me.
So there's this new statement now that's dropped from SAFA. They're announcing this team of about 3 or 4 personnel that are going to be responsible for managing the team's administrative affairs during the World Cup. Is it a little too late? And also there are some people, Mawande, who are saying, you guys are blowing this out of proportion. They've just lost, a day or two in travel. It's not really a big deal. You understand this better than we do. What do you think?
It isn't a small deal. I would imagine that Coach Hugo Bruce would have had a schedule that he would have had that needs the team to acclimatize, to recover from their travel, and then to start training again. They have a set game against Jamaica later this week, which is their final warm-up game in preparation for that World Cup opener against Mexico. And at that, there's a lot of acclimatizing that the players have to do in Mexico City specifically because it is so high above sea level. It's got an altitude of above 2,000 meters, which compared to Pretoria is about 1,300 and Joburg is 1,700. So there's a lot of acclimatizing that they need to do. People have been reported to have gotten altitude sickness, for instance, when they arrive in Mexico and in Mexico City and exert themselves too hard initially instead of taking some time to acclimatize to the conditions. So, I would imagine that Coach Hugo Bruce is one of the most frustrated people in the world right now because of that. And then, putting a 3-man committee together to handle the management of the Bafana affairs should not be a necessary requirement. That's what you have the team manager there for. That's what you have maybe subordinates below him who'd have to take care of the handling of administrative issues. And I think it's just deflecting and shying away from taking the responsibility of who is actually at fault here.
Do we know exactly what the blunder was here, Mawande? Because even in the statement that's dropped, it says, and I quote, "It was revealed in the meeting that the only outstanding visas are for 4 members of the camp. However, SAFA is working closely with the relevant authorities to ensure that they also board the flight to North America," end quote. So is the issue here the delays maybe from the U.S. consulate? Because I don't see SAFA taking any accountability here and saying this is what we failed to do.
Yeah, I kind of found that the messaging in that statement was a little bit mixed because it says only the team management or support staff don't have visas, but then somewhere along the way it also says that we finally secured the visas for all of the players by Sunday. So I kind of feel like there's a couple of things that don't come together in that statement necessarily at this point. And besides that, the Bafana squad was actually at the consulate last week applying for visas and the like, and I don't think that is perhaps enough time.
Wait, last week for a U.S. visa?
Yes, I've been reliably informed that the Bafana squad and players were seen at the U.S. consulate last week. Now, for some people who've been through the process, it takes a really long time. And sometimes you want to be safe and you want to have time to spare as well in case it doesn't come on time and things like that. So that was a major bungle on SAFA's part in only applying that. And the squad, for instance, the provisional squad was meant to be sent into FIFA at the beginning of this month. That is ample time for them to get as many players as possible into the visa application process. And that's also for, players who pull out at the last minute or players who have to be called up at the last minute due to injuries and things like that. Because now you can imagine that if a player doesn't have or a player gets injured now, you're going to have to call up a player who doesn't necessarily have a visa either, and you're starting a whole another problem. So I do think that SAFA in this particular instance didn't do their due diligence when it comes to applying for visas, didn't do anything on time, and now we find ourselves in this particular instance.
What's happening at SAFA, Mawande? I mean, there've been complaints and complaints and complaints over the years, and I don't know, is anything changing? Are things getting any better?
I don't think so. Ask any person who covers football in South Africa, and they have to deal with SAFA at some point. It's very difficult to get a straight answer out of them. It's very difficult to get anything where anybody takes responsibility. It's very difficult to get, anything that you need. So they aren't the most easiest people to deal with. And it also manifests then in things like this, where, things aren't spoken about in an open and timely manner. Even the apology was a little flat for me, and it didn't have any substance. It just seemed like they wanted to gloss over it to move on to the next thing. And that's just really indicative of what SAFA is at the moment. It isn't an organization, I think, in my opinion, that has the players' interests at heart in the first place. It doesn't have fans at the forefront. It doesn't have the game as the main thing that they are prioritizing.
Yeah, that's quite wild.
Find ourselves in situations like this.
Mawande, thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming through with your insights. Mawande Mateza, EWN Sports reporter. I'm honestly shocked that the players or squad was only last week. Okay, anybody who's applied for a US visa knows that you have to apply way in time, especially now under this administration. You just need to be extra cautious and go way in time. We knew we qualified way back. Why do you then wait a week or two before you have to travel for you to go to apply for a US visa? Wow. But then again, that's SAFA for you. Let's go to your WhatsApps. I see some of you are reacting to this conversation on 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Clem, and your team. Clem, the issue of SAFA, Clement, it's a very, very, very sad situation. We've got a president who's heading to court at Palm Brick for the fraud and other allegations. We've got his leadership that there are people who are alleged to be employed who happen to be foreigners in the organization. How long can this organization suffer under Danny Jordan, to be honest with you? Because he always bribed the region with the cars when it's the time for election so that he can retain the election. Since Madiba was still alive, Danny Jordan is still our president of South African Football Association. Cry, my beloved country, from Max in Pretoria.
Clement, the problems of SAFA, we have a solution. Can Dakadi go and help us clean out SAFA too? She's got the energy, she's got the vibe. So can she just please go and help us clean up SAFA? I don't believe.
Okay, we'll tell the Deputy Minister, Peace Mabe. Yeah, maybe that's what you need. Some things, guys, are just unavoidable blunders, honestly. Some things are just unavoidable blunders. This team that they've now chosen and somehow established to deal with the administrative affairs of Bafana Bafana during the World Cup, this team should have been appointed a long time ago. Why now? When there are delays in other people getting their visas, and now it appears you've only gone there, a week or two ago to apply for a US visa? That is a bit wild. It's 29 minutes after 10.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, so before we get to the headlines, here's another opportunity for you to walk away with 5,000 Rand worth of fuel voucher. Remember, we're giving you about 5,000 Rand every single hour of the show for the entire week. This is courtesy of My Way. My Way, live your way. So on the open line, we had already announced our winner, Monwabisi, someone who called in, and his call was one of the great contributions on the 702 open line this morning. Well, For this hour, I've got a question to ask you, and then you can send a WhatsApp voice note on 07270211702, and the producers will decide who wins this prize. How do you save or preserve fuel during these tough times where prices have increased so much? So how have you been saving? What have you changed? What are you doing differently? How do you save or preserve fuel during these tough times where prices have increased so much? Send us your response on 07270211702. And who knows, you may be walking away with 5,000 Rand fuel voucher, courtesy of My Way. It's 10:31. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Suspended Hawks KwaZulu-Natal boss Lesetja Sinona will return to the Madlanga Commission on Friday for his oral testimony. Sinona was due to testify today. However, he's requested more time to prepare his statement. He's implicated in the 2021 theft of 541 kilograms of cocaine from a Hawks storage facility in Port Shepstone. The Brakpan Magistrates Court is delivering judgment in the bail application of the man accused of killing Marius van der Merwe. Matipandile Soteni faces 16 charges, including conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. Van der Merwe, who testified before the Madlanga Commission, was killed outside his home in December last year. And France is holding a foreign investment summit with tens of billions of dollars of capital already offered, notably for artificial intelligence and data centers. Some 200 top executives from around the world are expected to gather in Paris today. Last year's conference set a record of 20 billion euros in announced projects. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling in Florida, we've got delays along the Albertina Sisulu Road. This is just as we approach the N1. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West. That's in the Crown City area. That's between the main Reef Road exit and the Crown interchange. If you're traveling towards the city of Tshwane, do expect delays on the N1 North approaching the Brakfontein interchange. And then traffic lights are out of order in Sandton at Greyston Drive in the M1, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North and Bears Nadia Drive. They're also out of order in four ways at Monte Casino Boulevard and Winnie Mandela Drive. We'll have more updates. Do stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
If you're CEO or CFO looking to grow across Africa, then the next 60 seconds are for you. Because in that short time, one bank in Africa will process over 300 million Rand. That's 430 billion Rand every day. Right now, we have 17.7 trillion Rand of the continent's assets under custody management, making us far and away the largest bank by assets in Africa. Which is why in 2025, we were voted Best Bank for Corporates in Africa at the Euro Money Awards for Excellence. So, if you're looking for a bank with scale, we're easy to find. We're in 21 key markets across Africa, and we've been on the continent for 163 years, so we are not going anywhere. Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket, and save on deals like Sprite, Fanta or Stony soft drink or Schweppes soda water 2 litres, any 2 for 37 Rand. Yum Yum peanut butter 800 grams for 69.99, and Sensodyne repair or sensitive toothpaste 75 mils for 74.99 each. Valid until 7 June, only at Checkers.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes before 11 o'clock. So, how many agencies do you know of that are in the city of Johannesburg? I'm asking this question because we often I mean, sometimes people get surprised when there's a CEO of a particular agency who's just been arrested and they're thinking, Haibo, what's that agency all about? Is it within the city of Johannesburg? So we decided to start a new series today. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking at some of Johannesburg's entities because we don't often talk about or understand all of them fully. So yes, you know about City Power, you know about Joburg Water, you know about Pick It Up, but there are other agencies that we seldom talk about. And I think it's important for us to talk about these agencies because these are entities for implementing service delivery in the city. There are more than 10 of them. There are quite a few of them. But we will pick a few that we seldom talk about, like the Johannesburg Development Agency, the Property Company, what else? Joburg Market, and others. And if you've got others that you would like us to focus on and talk about, you are welcome to send us your suggestions on email on cm@702.co.za. What are these agencies responsible for? Are they really a catalyst for service delivery in the city? How functional and stable are they? And who's running them? Today, we're starting by looking at Joburg City Parks and Zoo. And as you know, Johannesburg is an urban forest with almost 10 million trees, over 2,000 developed parks. Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo is the city of Johannesburg's entity responsible for greening, horticulture, and public open space maintenance. And it manages over 20,000, if I'm not mistaken, hectares of green open spaces across the city, which includes flagship parks, conservation areas, the Johannesburg Botanical Garden, conservation sites, cemeteries, crematoria, and the Johannesburg Zoo. But the organization is increasingly having to navigate some complex urban challenges, from the impact of climate change on biodiversity, illegal dumping, which is still a big issue, the growing presence of homeless persons in public open spaces, diminishing burial capacity in cemeteries. I mean, there's issues of aging infrastructure, resource constraints, you name it. And all of this is putting pressure on its ability to deliver services. So joining us on the line now is Jenny Moodley, who is the General Manager for Intergovernmental Advocacy and Media Relations at the Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo. And if you've got your own questions or inputs, you want to share your experiences around the Joburg City Parks and Zoo, you can call us on 011-883-0702 or send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Jenny, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
City Parks and Zoo, this is most appreciated.
Oh, thank you for making time for us. So let's start with just understanding the basics here. What is the size and scale of the entity's responsibilities across Johannesburg? What do you look at?
Well, the scale of Johannesburg is often underestimated. We have the responsibility to manage over 2,175 parks and open spaces, both developed, flagship, and of course undeveloped. We have over 3.5 million trees just in public spaces. We have over 42 cemeteries. We manage about 58 nature reserves, and this excludes all the periphery of all the water bodies from Zoo Lake to Florida Lake to the Yipskay and Braamfontein Strait. And of course, we have the wonderful Johannesburg Zoo. So it's quite a tall order. Collectively, these assets span thousands of hectares.
Yeah, and I think we don't talk enough about how important these are just to the social, environmental, and even the economic well-being of Johannesburg. So help our listeners understand how important these parks you've mentioned, these nature reserves and green open spaces are, how important they are to just the economy of Johannesburg and the social and environmental well-being.
Absolutely. Very critical in terms of mental well-being. We know how important public open spaces are. We saw that during COVID, where lots of residents were under hard lockdown and desperately needed to go outdoors. So extremely important in terms of well-being, but also to social integration, to come together. We see meetings taking place in our parks from Stockveld to local community organizations, domestic groups coming together. It varies from religious groups to small, very young children. And so for us, from an environmental education perspective, parks are absolutely the window to this, to fostering ownership and pride in your public spaces and in your public open spaces that are not just parks as well. We also find that in terms of economic empowerment, we see more and more a gravitation to residents looking to adopt these spaces, and how we can, and we are working on a shared revenue model where they've adopted these spaces and there's some sort of revenue generated through these partnerships. So again, it talks to the economic and the financial well-being of the city.
Yeah.
So very, very far-reaching in terms of economic opportunities, in terms of environmental benefits, and of course in terms of social interaction.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the concerns that have been raised by the residents, and maybe you can help us understand how you're resolving them, because there are some residents who often complain about like overgrown parks, like illegal dumping, vandalism. So how big of a challenge is this, and how do you prioritize maintenance across such a large network of public spaces?
Yes, so like many cities around the world, Johannesburg faces increasing challenges around public open spaces. We're having to deal with issues such as vandalism, displaced persons taking illegal occupation in some of our open spaces. We have climate change that is exacerbating or increasing overgrowth. We know that the weather also contributes to uprooted trees, and even reports coming from our cemeteries where we've got sunken graves, collapsed headstones, and so on. So there's definitely a need to factor in all of these growing concerns into our budgets, and that's where the pressure builds in terms of budget pressures. We are required to prioritize our resources to carefully ensure that critical services remain operational, safe, and sustainable. So for us, it's about looking at issues around tree maintenance. We have a very progressive operational program where we look at seasonal maintenance, and then we've got the day-to-day maintenance, and we have an emergency unit that deals with a tree that's fallen over, damaged infrastructure, and so on. So that's in place. With parks, similarly, we have a schedule in terms of monthly maintenance and quarterly. Unfortunately, there's no adequate. We should ideally have a second and a third cut come summer, and that's when we say to residents to please be tolerant. We don't have the resources for that additional cut. Okay. And as you would know from your own lawns, how quickly grass grows. So we have those challenges. And again, this is where those partnerships come on board.
Yeah. And of course, there are issues also about safety at public facilities, particularly cemeteries and parks. And that's come under a lot of scrutiny. Residents have been raising concerns, particularly at West Park Cemetery. There have been reports of shootings, robberies, and hijackings in the area. What security measures are in place to help protect visitors and maintain order within these Joburg parks and cemeteries?
Yes, so let's focus on West Park. For West Park, we have the dedicated JMPD that are deployed to not only traffic manage, but also to respond to these sort of emergencies. We also work closely with the funeral undertakers to give us some sort of heads up when it comes to the burial of a high-profile member of a gang or so on, so that we have adequate resources in place. No person is allowed to discharge a gun in any one of our cemeteries. And of course, if there are reports, then again, we call on the South African Police Services. We also have the park rangers that do the random patrols through all our parks and our cemeteries. And finally, we're working very closely with the resident associations. We find that security companies like CAP and ADT, Blue Hawk, and so on are very, very active in parts of the city. However, there are gaps, and that's when we work with community policing. So there's a number of security resources that we can tap on. Unfortunately, there is a gray area when it comes to the coordination of this. And so we need to tidy that up, and we know that in the new year we'll be meeting with relevant stakeholders to do that. But again, the onus is on users to exercise some sort of vigilance when you're going into these public open spaces, We know that we have 42 cemeteries in the city. 38 are now passive, which means that they're underutilized, and very often we have reports of opportunistic crime. So for us, it's about how can we educate residents, do not visit these spaces alone, go with a group, alert our security at the entrance, and so on. These are very, very important for your own safety. And again, we must thank the resident associations and the ward councillors that have come together and put these security partnerships in place. It really alleviates some of the burden of city parks and its rangers. We have a very, very small contingent of rangers, and our main aim is to make sure that they report on environmental concerns more than safety concerns. So again, dependency on all stakeholders to work very closely together.
Yeah, and speaking of cemeteries, the growing population in the city is obviously placing increasing pressure on cemetery infrastructure. What is the current outlook regarding burial capacity across the city's cemeteries? Are you looking at alternative burial methods in the city's long-term planning? And how is the agency preparing for future burial demands in this rapidly growing metropolitan area?
Yes, so a number of campaigns. We've seen lots of success around the alternative burial campaign, where we're encouraging families to, if they have any resistance or if there's still a stigma attached to cremation, then look at burying a loved one in the same grave, and as a family member. And we're finding there are more and more families that are taking this option. We're finding that in cemeteries like Alexandra, around Avalon and so on, families are reusing the existing family grave to bury a second and a third relative. So that's we are seeing an uptake on that. We also are exploring where we have existing cemeteries and where there are sort of infill spaces, spaces that were originally used for massive roads and so on. We're finding that we can access that for new burial space, so we're doing a lot of that. And then, of course, we're looking at the alternate burial spaces for alternate cemeteries. But most importantly, we want to say to residents that we have between 30 to 40 years availability of burial space, and we would be able to accommodate even if there's a natural disaster in the city. However, we want families to start looking at these alternative options. We don't want future generations bearing the brunt of maintaining these sprawling 42 cemeteries, and that's cost implications. It's also got safety concerns and so on. So we're saying have those conversations with your religious leaders, with your families, and start adopting alternative burial options, alternative burial options in terms of cremation, in terms of the second burial option. We're finding that there is an uptake, but we'd like to see more and more families consider that.
And then what about the homeless communities? Because many of these public parks and open spaces are becoming places of refuge for homeless communities. How big is that challenge, and has it affected the entity's ability to maintain these areas? And how do you balance that need for safe, accessible public spaces with the social reality of these homeless communities?
Yes, very valuable point. The big concern is that we are finding some of the displaced communities are using parks as transitional housing, and including cemeteries. And we are finding that more and more as we do these operations, once we clean up a particular space, we find that the group and all volunteer out of the space. So they move out without any conflict or confrontation, and they'd move to the next park and the next park. So it's a vicious cycle in terms of what we're having to deal with. We're finding that there are resident associations that are saying, let us help fence these spaces and so on. But again, the problem has shifted. So we need to come together, and we are talking to the relevant departments in the city. Again, this includes social housing, it includes home affairs, it includes JMPD and various other safety stakeholders, where we go in there, we assist displaced persons that are looking for accommodation. We work with the undocumented individuals. And, of course, there's also huge issues around mental wellness and substance abuse as well. So we bring in those like the Hillbrow Rehabilitation Substance Abuse Center and so on when it comes to some of the pockets of the illegal persons in these parks. But having said that, it is a global problem. We know that, from Paris all the way to Silicon Valley has this issue. And we need to find more innovative, more responses in terms of understanding that this is humanity at its lowest, and how do we engage the relevant authorities to also care for people and make sure that their wellness is taken care of. So there's a whole program in place. But having said that, it's extremely important for residents to report that first camp, the first tent, the first marquee that's going up, because we need to be more proactive when it comes to that. We also need to understand that there are legal constraints. We've seen where the city has lost cases where there have been, like the Albert's Farm issue, where we went in and had to clear a particular area. We found 4 individuals that were living in that space. And, of course, the courts then instructed us to stop further proofs.
Yeah. Jenny, I'm going to take a quick ad break. When we come back, I've got some voice notes from our listeners, some calls as well. I'll incorporate those when we return. It's 8 minutes before 11.
Let's count backward. 5, insurance. 4, pineapple. 3, insurance. 2, pineapple. 1, you're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Are you or someone you know visually impaired? Well, I am. My name is Ngabagazi Kyalisi, and I'm a cybersecurity technician.
Ngabagazi's journey began at the Hein Wagner Academy, a specialized learning center dedicated to empowering visually impaired students.
At the academy, I was taught never to give up on my dreams. I have earned national and international certificates in the field of cybersecurity through a learnership sponsored by ABSA, and that has unlocked my potential.
The Hein Wagner Academy offers a wide range of courses, helping students gain economic independence and social connections through training, sport, recreation, and the arts. With full boarding facilities and a convenient location near shops, it's more than just an academy. It's a gateway to a brighter future.
Why wait? Visit heinwagneracademy.org and unlock your future.
Across Africa, businesses are embracing the power of cloud solutions, and DigiCloud Africa is leading the way. As Google's chosen reseller enablement partner for Africa, we are committed to growing the Google Cloud Partner Network across the continent. We lead with our partners, actively empowering them through continuous enablement and training to deliver transformative Google Cloud solutions. Organizations looking to partner with Google Cloud experts or resellers wanting to partner with DigiCloud Africa can contact info@digicloud.africa. If you're thinking Google Cloud, think DigiCloud Africa.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 6 minutes before 11 o'clock. We're in conversation now with the Joburg City Parks and Zoo as part of our series over the next couple of weeks, starting today, looking at Johannesburg entities. I do think that we don't talk a lot about and understand all of them fully, but these are entities that are quite critical and a catalyst for implementing service delivery in the city. So we've chosen a few of them and we'll be talking about them over the coming weeks. I want to go to your calls now on 011-883-0702. Let's start with Fred, who's in Lombardy East. Fred, good morning.
Good morning, Clement and Jenny. Jenny, going back to about August last year, the big problem in Lionel Keenan Park in Lombardy East, and it's regarding foreign trees that clog the stream and cause environmental concerns. So I phoned you initially and you passed me on to somebody else, And eventually I got a response, and somebody came out to look at the park, one of the heads of department, and they agreed with me something needed to be done, and they committed to doing it, to getting these trees cleared out, because you've got a nice environment there. Secondly, in that park as well, somebody comes every few months and cuts down indigenous reeds and things like that. And I don't understand the purpose, because it costs somebody money to do that. Somebody's paying them to do that. And it's a natural habitat which is good for the bishop birds and frogs and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's my concern there. So the
Got
lady
you.
came out, she agreed to come back.
Yeah.
And I've been sending mails again and again, and nothing's happened, and the trees are enjoying themselves, and they shouldn't be there.
Got you. Fred in Lombardi is thank you. Jenny, the first question there was about foreign-grown trees that are growing in their local park, and it's causing all sorts of ecological damages. And he's asking, what is it going to take for the agency to deal with them?
Yes, a huge problem for the city are these invasive alien plants. We have a unit, again, not very well resourced, but we do prioritize parks and water bodies where we've got the alien invasive species in the various categories. So category 1 needs to be removed ASAP, and that's where our primary focus is. But having said that, I'd like to get more details from the caller and redirect it to our conservation unit, who can advise us on what the issues are, and that to liaise with the client to make sure that there's communication.
Okay.
I think that's what's lacking there.
Okay, Neil is asking on the WhatsApp line, how many active crematoriums do we have, and how are they dealing with the backlogs?
Yes, from a cemetery point, we have 42 cemeteries, 4 of which are active. That is your Olifants Place Cemetery, your West Park Cemetery, the one in Diepsloot, and the one in Midrand, which is your Allendale Cemetery. From a crematorium point, we have two that fall under the city, which is the Lenasia Crematorium and the Braamfontein one, but we also work closely with the Hindu Crematorium in Brixton. So these are the active crematoria in the city. But having said that, we're finding that, yes, there's sometimes more than 3 cremations per day. We need to understand that process. We've installed extra incinerators in these crematoria to make sure that we accommodate for additional cremations. But we are finding that there is a need to look at how we can enhance the operations around the crematoria.
Okay, here's a voice note that's come through.
Open outdoor spaces in a city contribute to the beauty of a city, and it's that makes visitors want to come to the city and spend their money. And so it's really important that a city maintains its loveliness, not just using every little bit of land for businesses and making money and so on. Beauty actually does count when it comes to economics.
Good morning, 702. I'm listening to your guest, the lady with the parks and the green open spaces. I just want to say kudos to your teams that work in Delta Park and Marentia. We cycle and we walk in those places, and I must say the upkeep is good. I've been watching the dam, the work's done around the top dam there near West Park, inside the park. Kudos to the work you guys are doing, and keep on doing it all the way down to the Delta, the Delta Park, all the way down to the trailhead in Craighall Park. Thank you, Parks, for doing your best to keep these spaces clean and user and safe for our residents to use.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for all your WhatsApps. And thanks, Jenny Moodley, for joining us for this conversation.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andelex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andelex it. Mzansi, the excitement is building. The 130th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July takes place on Saturday, 4 July. This year's theme, Country Allure, draws from the richness of our land. A celebration of heritage, freedom and style, inspired by our beautiful countryside. It's more than a race. It's where champions are made, stories are written, and greatness is unleashed. World-class horse racing, bold fashion, music, culture, and a day of endless excitement at Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse. Get your tickets now at Ticket Pro and release your glamour at the Hollywood Bets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
It was actually a flawless process. It definitely pays to switch. I wish we had done it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know, when you claim, your excess is a fixed amount, not a percentage of the claim. For beauty salons, convenience stores, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We start with news just in. The man accused of killing a witness who testified before the Madlanga Commission has been denied bail in the Brakpan Regional Court. Delivering judgment a short while ago, Magistrate Tlakale Sitege found that Matipandile Soteni is likely to endanger the safety of witnesses or conceal and destroy evidence. The court says he may evade trial if granted bail on the back of the strength of the state's case and the length of imprisonment he's facing if convicted. The magistrates rejected Soteni's claims that his detention would prejudice his children, finding that he's not the primary caregiver. Soteni is facing 16 charges, including murder and conspiracy to commit murder, linked to the death of Maris van der Merwe, known as Witness D, who was shot outside his Brakpan home last year. Suspended Hawks KwaZulu-Natal boss Lesitja Sinona will return to the Madlanga Commission on Friday for his oral testimony. Sinona was due to testify today. However, he's requested more time to prepare his statement. He's implicated in the 2021 theft of 541 kilograms of cocaine from a Hawks storage facility in Port Shepstone. At least 2 witnesses have pointed the finger at Sinona for the irregularities that led to the cocaine being stolen. Commission Chairperson Buisele Madlanga ruled that Sinona must file his witness statements by tomorrow night and testify on Friday.
You are directed to be in attendance at 9:30 on Friday, 5 June 2026. Thank you very much, General. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
2 suspects are expected to appear in the Alice Magistrates Court today for impersonating a Hawks official. An investigation in the Eastern Cape was launched after the pair repeatedly used the officer's identity to access confidential police documents. They face charges of fraud, unlawful impersonation, abuse of state resources, and deliberately hiding their identities. Jabulile Mbata reports.
The matter was first reported in 2024 when one of the suspects presented himself to the Alice police station as a senior Hawks officer tasked with investigating corruption within the Department of Public Works and Human Settlements. He also went to the offices of the 2 departments wearing police uniform looking for documents. The Hawks say he was often accompanied by a former SAPS member who used her official email account to communicate with officials in the Department of Public Works and Human Settlements. Hawks spokesperson Ndipiwe Mhlakuvana.
2 suspects aged between 73 and 46 are expected to appear before Alice Magistrate Court on 1 June 2026 on allegations of fraud, unlawful impersonation of a senior law enforcement officer, abuse of state resources, and a deliberate misrepresentation of official authority. The arrest follows an intensive investigation conducted by the Gugombo Hawks Serious Corruption Investigation.
Mhlakuvana says investigations continue. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
And France is holding a foreign investment summit with tens of billions of dollars of capital already offered, notably for artificial intelligence and data centers. Some 200 top executives from around the world are expected to gather in Paris from today. Last year's conference set a record of 20 billion euros in announced projects. France has notably attracted more projects linked to AI than anywhere else in Europe, but the industry has suffered, particularly the cars, chemical and metallurgy sectors. Gold is trading at $4,502.13 an ounce. The rand is at 16.25 to the dollar, 21.89 to the pound, 18.94 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $93.37 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays in Florida along Albertina Sisulu Road. This is just as you come out of the N1 towards Arthur Matthews Avenue. There's also queuing traffic reported on the M2 West between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. This is in the Amalgam area. Speaking of which, queuing traffic as well along Main Reef Drive. This is towards Park Drive. Please be on the lookout there.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The man accused of killing a witness who testified before the Madlanga Commission has been denied bail by the Brakpan Regional Court.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanmonani, good morning. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. If you've just joined us, where have you been? We start now, though, with our Family Matters feature. So you're right in time for quite an important conversation we're having this morning on our Family Matters feature.
702.
Family Matters.
Today, I want us to talk about something we seldom talk about. And that's navigating how to deal with grief that comes with adult friendships. And as I said to you in the first hour, this is actually a conversation that was inspired by this piece I read in the Times of India titled The Quiet Grief of Adult Friendship by Praveen Jain. I'll put it up on Twitter as well if you are on that platform and you want to check out the piece. But if you just Google The Quiet Grief of Adult Friendship by Praveen Jain, it'll come up. I read this piece and I thought we have to talk about this on the show. Because I mean, as you read this piece, one thing you realize more and more is that friendships are actually one of life's most meaningful connections. But sometimes somewhere there between, oh, we'll catch up soon, or, oh, life has been hectic, adult friendships have quietly become one of the most emotionally significant and least discussed losses of modern life. You know, unlike a breakup or when there's a bereavement, the grief that comes with drifting from a close friend has no formal name. There's no ritual. There's no clean end point, and most of our friendships don't even end up, you know, with a fight or a falling out. They simply just fade. Wouldn't you agree? No final conversation. There's no closure. Just postponed calls, exhausting jobs, geographic distance, the different lives that are unfolding at different speeds until one day you realize that the person who once knew your thoughts now only knows what you accidentally reveal on your WhatsApp or on your Instagram stories. And because nothing really happened, we often deny ourselves the right to grieve it. So today, we're naming that grief and we're learning how to navigate it. And I would like you to share your own stories, because I've got my own stories. There are people that I've grown up with who were my best friends when I was young that I have not been speaking to in a while. I mean, we still care about each other. If there's a funeral and they lose someone close to them, I will attend the funeral and vice versa. But we're not as close as we used to be. If at all, there's no contact, but there's almost that undeniable understanding that the connection is still there and we still care and value each other, whether it's as brothers or as sister and brother or as sisters. And maybe that's what you are going through yourself. There are certain people that you have shared quite a valuable friendship with and you're no longer friends with them, whether because you had a fight or because you just faded. You live different lives and you are not connecting with each other as you used to before, or maybe because you live too far from each other. You haven't really found time to meet. How have you navigated the grief that comes with adult friendships? Because especially as adults, at some point, our friends become our family. Some of us are more closer to some of our friends than we are to some of our family members. That's a reality for some people. So when something like that ends, how could it be that we don't name it? How could it be that we don't take time to appreciate the impact of the end of that relationship? How could it be that we don't grieve that relationship? I mean, intimate relationships we do, right? We grieve them. If you've broken up with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you've divorced your wife, your husband, like there's an appreciation of something that's ended that was so meaningful to you. Why is it that with friendships, we don't go through that? So I would like to hear from you how you've navigated the grief of friendships that have ended and whether they've ended because of a fight, but I'm more interested in those that have just faded. You just stopped talking to each other as often as you used to. You stopped visiting each other as often as you used to. And the next thing you know, when you get married, that friend that used to be so close to you is not even on your list because the friendship has somehow just fizzled out. Share your thoughts, please, on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Kanye Nyaka is a life coach who will be guiding us through this conversation. Kanye, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
One of the things that really happen a lot and that we don't take time to look at is how these adult friendships fade even when there is no falling out. It's like we didn't fight about anything, but you know that we're really not as friends as we used to and we haven't even spoken for 4 or 5 years. Why do adult friendships fade even when there is no fallout?
I think time does its thing when we don't put effort into relationships, and that's with any relationship. And I think of relationships as a plant, right? You buy the plant and it's beautiful and you look at it, but if you don't tend to it over time, it will die. If you don't water it, if you don't put it outside, if you don't change the soil. And we live in a culture that over prioritizes romantic relationships over platonic relationships.
Yeah.
Because we'll put in that effort, some of us, we will put in that effort into romantic relationships, but it's like your friends need you to put in the same effort. I want you to think of that one friend where, if I don't call, we're not talking. It's going to get to a point where you're obviously tired of being the one that always calls. So I think, again, if we don't put in the effort, if we don't put in the work, time will do its thing. And the thing that time does is it's going to create distance because we're not intentional in how we want to show up in friendships and in community.
Yeah. So, what do you think are the consequences of us not appreciating that sort of void that is left by friends that are no longer friends, that we're no longer friends with? I mean, what does grief over a friendship actually look and feel like? Because this is something that we're all trying to figure out. Because as you said, we prioritize romantic relationships, family, but not so much, these friendships that are sometimes more important to us than even those romantic
Absolutely.
relationships or even the relationship you may have with your brothers or your sisters. So how does that grief look like then, or feel like?
I think, I do want to say that I'm so appreciative that you are bringing up the grief. It's hard to have a conversation around grief when the person you're grieving is still alive. It's even harder when you think that the stakes were not as high as they actually are. There's the beauty of friendship, first of all, is that you get to show up as your most authentic self with someone that's not expecting anything out of you. And it's what makes friendship so powerful and so impactful, is that with my friends, I can be exactly who I am. I'm not trying to impress them. They're not trying to impress me. And the grief that comes with that is now I have to be in spaces where to be ukanyisa, I kind of have to adjust a little bit. And we don't allow ourselves that grief because, again, friendships are this beautiful part of our lives that we just treat as a by the way. Well, by the way, I have a friend. And my friend and I are not talking, and that's fine. And grief invites expression. And so if you're surrounded by people who keep saying, ah, it's fine, Chomi, they don't want to talk to you, it's their issue. So now you're having to process that grief on your own. And you also gaslight yourself into thinking, it's not that deep. Why am I crying so much over a friend? My first biggest heartbreak in life was from a friend. And I remember I was in university and I cried for a week. And I was like, oh, this hurts because the betrayal from a friend is so deep that I couldn't hold it anymore. I also remember being in a space where I couldn't communicate that grief. I went through it all by myself. There was no one there where I can say, I'm really heartbroken. This thing that this person did to me is very heartbreaking because they're just a friend. And when let's just remove the just and say, that's my friend, and my friend hurt me, and my friend harmed me. And because I'm experiencing hurt and pain, I should be able to grieve that, and loss too, right? We will cry for months and years over a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
But we won't even give ourselves a week.
Yes, to just appreciate and grieve.
And
and
to just appreciate the loss.
Sometimes it's so painful, Kanye. I'm just reflecting on my own life. There are people I've grown up with that I was incredibly close with, and I mean, it breaks my heart that I mean, we went recently to one of these guys that I grew up with lost their grandmother, and we knew their grandmother because I used to see the grandmother every day. That's how close I was with this guy, and we went to a funeral, and when we're sitting there, you can tell how we are so different now, and it's almost to a point that is so painful because you remember you dreamt together with these guys, right, about what you guys wanted to do in the future, how you wanted to live your lives, and here you are living completely different lives where your interests are so completely different, the conversations to be had are so different, and you almost feel like you're out of place. And I wonder, how do you navigate that? Because some people say, well, we must just accept that sometimes friends grow apart. Yes, you haven't, especially for people who haven't fought. Like, we've just grown apart, but there's still that level of care in that if there's a funeral, I will show up. Well, if I get married and I only have 30 people to invite, you may not make it to the list. But if there's a bereavement for some reason, that's when you think is the opportunity to show up. Do you think there's space for that, to just accept that as friends, especially as adults, we are going to grow apart, and that's also okay as long as we find words to define that and understand what it is?
Well, relationships always leave room to be defined and reimagined. But what you're speaking of is something that we don't really pay attention to as well, which is sometimes you paint this beautiful picture, or I'm imagining a group of friends who say, yes, we're going to grow up and do this and do that. And then let's say you happen to be that one friend that actually grows up and does that. What happens now is there's no alignment anymore. If you're somewhere else and you've left me where I was, what are we going to talk about? I don't understand your life. I live a life that you got away from, right? And then the second thing is, if you're that friend that got away, you're holding up a very uncomfortable mirror to me. You're holding up a mirror that says, why could you not have done that? You had similar circumstances, a similar environment, same dreams. What makes him special? Can we talk about envy? Not really jealousy, but let's talk about envy and how that envy can actually also create that distancing. And yes, it's okay. It's okay to say when we've grown apart because we've grown in ways where we can no longer align on some stuff. And our values are different and our principles are different. And the privileges that I have based on the choices that I've made are different. And so we don't connect. And yeah, I'll come to a funeral because we have that history and that connection. I probably know the person that's passed away. And yes, I'm showing up for you, but I know them too because we grew up together. But the thing that makes true friendships, let me be honest with you. I cannot stand shallow relationships. And because I cannot stand shallow relationships, I'm constantly in friction with friends because I want to go deep. I don't want to talk to you about the weather. I know what the weather is like. I want to have deep, meaningful conversations with you. And if you're someone that doesn't know how to hold deep, meaningful conversations, then you and I cannot connect on a deeper level. And even if we were friends when I was in high school or university, right now, where I am in my life, we cannot connect. And that's okay. Doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes us people who've grown up to be different from each other.
Yes, that's it. Hey, how does the busyness of modern adult life though quietly erode our closest friendships? Because I find that sometimes it's not that we don't care much about each other, but it's that we're not really spending as much time as we used to. And sometimes what really just sort of grows the friendship is the regularity of things that we do. Like, okay, we make time to have lunch, we make time to have our children play with each other, we make time for those phone calls during the week. But we've become so busy as adults that there's somehow we're not finding space to maintain and, as you said, nurture those friendships. So how does the busyness of our modern adult life then quietly contribute towards the erosion of our closest friendships?
Let me ask you this. Are we not having time, or are we not making time?
We're not making time because you
We're
make
not
time for
making
things you actually do care about.
1,000%. 1,000%. And the excuse of time and relationships, it gets to a point where it doesn't work. Because I know for a fact that things that I prioritize and that are important to me, I will make time for them. I will put them in my non-negotiable. If I have a best friend, I say I have a standing Saturday appointment with my best friend. Every other Saturday, we're going to have coffee and catch up and have a real conversation. But we don't make time for things that we think are important. And then if I can't make time for it, is it that important to me?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's hear from our listeners on 011-883-0702. I want us to bring in their stories as well as we continue this conversation. Do you feel like your adult friendships are slowly slipping away? Is it something you've dealt with? How do you navigate that? Because some of it is really painful. Some of it is hurtful, but we don't really take time to appreciate it like that. So I'd like to hear from you on 011-883-0702. Have you ever grieved a friendship that didn't technically end? And I put that in inverted commas. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Clement, you're sounding a little bit jaded there, talking about faded adulthood friendships. Are you okay, man? Like, sounds like you need a friend. But yeah, just on my side, my friends are scattered across Gauteng, so it's a geographical problem of us not meeting as often as we used to back in the day. And for me, staying in Midrand, it got to a point where I'm now a little bit depressed, and I confided actually in my neighbor. And I found a friend in a neighbor. So I've been going steady with a good, solid friendship there. And I think, honestly, friendships, it has a lot to do with your geographical circumstances. The idea of having to make time for your friends and being intentional about your friends is such a mature thought to have, over and above how you started with your friends when you were just children, playing in the backyard because you were put there by somebody else. It's Mikey from Centurion.
It happened twice to me, Clement. Two of my very best friends. We've since drifted apart after many years of friendship. One of them I actually considered to be my brother because we've known each other since primary school, and I suspect it could be because of the women that have since come into their lives, because I've started to notice changes after that. And how am I dealing with it? I just decided to keep my distance because I don't want to really be seen to be the one coming in between them and their partners. But it hurts. It hurts a lot.
Yeah, it does. And we don't take time to acknowledge that hurt. Ish. So, I mean, it really feels like, Kanye, these friendships that are formed in adulthood feel so much harder to build and maintain than the ones we had when we were younger. And also, I wonder what role social media plays. Do you think it helps us stay connected, or it just creates this illusion of connection? Because, you saw someone post on their story, you saw them travel with their kid, you saw them at a wedding, and it creates an illusion of connection when in fact, no, we're not.
We're not connected at all, because a 20-second story on my Instagram doesn't give you the full context of my life. And that is a 1-minute video that I put on my static post. There's no real connection, but we do have this false sense of connection. Even if we haven't seen each other or spoken to each other in years, right? We can go, but I see her on social media. But it's like, no, you're seeing photos, friend. You're not in my, but friendships, like the second listener who owned the hurt and acknowledged that it actually hurts, is that you're not there in the most important parts of my life. You're not in my joy. You're not in my darkness. You're not in moments where I'm celebrating. You're not in moments where I'm heartbroken. That is what creates closeness, the vulnerability that true connection asks for. A screen cannot gift us that. And actually, it does the opposite. Because if I'm trying to reach out to you in real life and you're not connecting, but I keep seeing you on my stories and I keep seeing you liking my posts, how am I supposed to feel?
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? So you're like, I know what she looks like. She changed her hair. Yeah, but at home, I'm depressed. Like the first listener said, I was so depressed that I had to make a different connection. But I can't tell you that because you're not there.
Are you going to get it? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, I'll bring in more of the WhatsApp voice notes we're getting from our listeners and take some calls as well on 011 8830702. In fact, Vod on the WhatsApp line says, Tobela Clement, more often than not, attending a funeral is more about tradition or custom than caring, which is similar to greeting someone. Because I said earlier that most of us have got these friendships, and I'm talking about friendships that we started when we were young, where you would not invite the person to your wedding if you were inviting 10 guests, for instance, because you don't think they've been a part of your life as an adult when you met this person you're with that you're getting married to. But if there's a funeral at that best friend's home, you're going to go there. And I was suggesting that maybe that comes from a point of care, because yes, we may not have spoken for 5 years, but if you lose your mom or you lose your dad and I know them, I want to come to you because I care. But Vod on the WhatsApp line suggests that, well, that's more about tradition and custom than caring, which is similar to greeting someone. And I wonder if you agree with that. Let me know your thoughts on the WhatsApp line or give us a call. It's 11:30. Mbali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, the man who's been accused of killing a witness who testified before the Madlanga Commission has been in court this morning. What happened?
That's correct, Clement. And the Brakpan Regional Court has denied Matipandile Soteni bail. The court found that Soteni is likely to endanger the safety of witnesses or conceal and destroy evidence. The court says he may evade trial if granted bail on the back of the strength of the state's case against him. Soteni faces 16 charges, including murder and conspiracy to commit murder, linked to the death of Marius van der Merwe, also known as Witness D, who was shot dead outside his home in Brakpan last year. Hawks KZN officer Carl Sander has taken the witness stand at the Madlanga Commission this morning. Sander will be testifying about the large consignment of confiscated cocaine that was stolen from a Hawks storage facility in Port Shepstone in 2021. In November of that year, thieves broke into the facility and stole 541 kilograms of cocaine, estimated to have a street value of over 200 million rand. While in Ethiopia, voting is continuing in most parts of the country as the nation holds parliamentary elections today. More than 50 million people are registered to vote, but a large group of Ethiopians will not be able to cast their ballots. Voting is not taking place in the northern Tigray region. The Electoral Board cited unfavorable conditions there following civil war and political turmoil between 2020 and 2022. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Bedford View, we've got delays on the N12 West between the Edenville Road exit and the Gilulis interchange. Please be on the lookout there, about a 15-minute hold-up on that stretch. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road. Main Reef Road in itself is backed up towards Park Drive. So if you're traveling within the Crown City area this morning, do expect delays on several routes as well, along with Albertina Sisulu Road. Then if you are traveling in Devlin, we've got delays on the Golden Highway. This is towards the N1 exit. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. Please be patient if you find yourself on that backlog. We'll have more traffic updates for you at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is enjoy yourself. With Norwegian Cruise Line, you can sail to over 400 destinations worldwide effortlessly. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show. Weekday evenings at 6.
So your group revenue was actually up by 9%, your retail revenue up by 9% as well. Are you happy with that growth?
I'm very happy with the growth. I think that growth generated strong market share gains for us on the back of our launch of Better Rewards. And Better Rewards as a program is so intrinsically linked to kind of our purpose, which is to reduce the cost of care, through mechanisms such as a reward program. So very pleased with the top line growth.
Roy Maresh, the CEO at Disken.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the AgriTrends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. Get the latest AgriTrends report at absaagritrends.co.za. ABSA is a registered FSP.
702.
Family Matters.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock. On our Family Matters feature this morning, we've been talking about how to navigate grief that comes with adult friendships. And I would like to know how you've been navigating that, right? Because there are friendships that there was never really a fight, but they just faded away. You've just drifted apart. You've grown apart. You're just no longer as close as you used to. And yes, there are cases where there's something that happened and that thing defined how you relate with each other going forward. And sometimes it hurts you. But we don't place a lot of care to how we feel when we have lost friendships like we do how we feel when we have lost people we are in romantic relationships with. I think there's something we're losing there, because friendships sometimes there are certain friendships that are so important to you and so valuable to you that it's more than the relationship you have with any of your siblings or even your romantic relationship. And yet, when we lose these friendships, we don't dedicate time to just grieving them and just understanding the hurt and appreciating and acknowledging the hurt. So, how have you dealt with this? How do you feel like your adult friendships are slowly slipping away? And how do you navigate that? And how do you know when a friendship is worth fighting for versus when it's time to just let it go? Because you would have to make peace with a friendship that has run its course, right? But how do you know this one has run its course or this is also worth fighting for? We're in conversation with Clement Manyathela, who is a life coach guiding us through this conversation. Let me go to some of your calls and then I'll bring Kanye back. Sanele, let's start with you. You're in Vereeniging. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How's it?
I'm all right, man. What's your experience?
You know what? I fully agree with your guest today, Clement. So, with my experience, I drifted apart with my best friend of 20 years, right? So, my point is, in order for our friendship to work, we have to have something in common. So, what we had in common back then, when I think about it, is when, we started experiencing things together, like your alcohol, girls, all of that, And then eventually when you grow up, like for instance, I was the first one to stop drinking alcohol in my group. That's when we started gradually starting to, drift apart. And then I got married. I was the first one to get married. And then it just got worse, So you need to have something in common as to maintain a friendship. So that's my experience.
Oh, I think that's a fair point you're raising there, Sanele. Thank you. Yeah, Kanye, that's really a good point, right? Because sometimes the drifting away is because the things that were a point of interest and a point of connection for us are non-existent for one or the other party.
Yeah, I mean, he put it so beautifully, the lifestyle change. What were the things that we would do together when we were hanging out? If I'm not into those things anymore, then we don't have that solid foundation anymore. If I'm now married and my focus is on growing a family and connecting with my partner and there's nothing like be married and have friends. Okay, please. I'm like, your romantic relationship cannot be everything. But if I'm hearing correctly, what he's saying is, firstly, the foundation moved, and then my life changed, and then my lifestyle changed, and then I introduced a new relationship at a time in my life where we were no longer connecting through the things that we used to connect through. And yes, that heartbreak of losing a 20-year friendship, it's important to feel, and also saying we don't even enjoy the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. Anele, you are in False Loras. Good morning.
Yes, that's correct. Hi, Clement, and hi to your guest.
Sure.
So, in my
Hi.
situation, I had 3 close friends, very close circle of friends, who had been quite great friends, I think, for over 10 years. So, what happened was around 2023, my mom got really sick. She passed on in 2024. These friends were awesome friends, amazing, supportive during my mom's illness. But I don't know what happened. It feels as though the friendship was then buried along with my mom. Because after my mom passed on, it went quiet, and I can understand some people want to give you your time and your space after the actual funeral. But after about 2 months and 3 months after burying my mom, other people were checking up on me. Other people were trying to figure out what's happening, how are you coping, all of that stuff. And I was getting checked on by every other person except these 3 close friends, that I considered close. And yes, eventually there was some confrontation from my side, just trying to, not even as a fight, but just trying to understand what happened. You guys were so great while she was sick. But what happened after the funeral day? Why did you all just keep quiet? And, they gave their own answers, which I'm not even 100% sure I'm satisfied with. But now I'm basically still trying to figure out, what do I do then in this case? Do I go back to them and say, I don't know, I'm sorry, friends, maybe you didn't know how to console a person. You didn't know how to deal with me after having buried my mom. But I still feel like I shouldn't have been the one to go back and fix things and fix them. I don't know. I guess they don't know how to deal with it as well.
Yeah. So, Anele, just a few questions. And I'm so sorry about your mom. How long have you been friends with these guys?
So it's about just over 10 years with them.
Jeez,
over 10 years.
That's a long time. And did your mom play any role in keeping the friendship together and intact?
Well, they knew my mom, so they'd obviously, whenever they visit, they'd see her. Even, I think, probably 2 years before she passed, I did have like a whole big birthday celebration here where they were here for the whole weekend and stuff. So they knew. That's why I say, even when she was sick, I was not even working at the time she was sick. So whenever I needed certain things in the house, they would be there and support. I think maybe that's why I'm a bit conflicted, is how is it that they were so incredibly great at supporting while she was sick?
Yeah.
And then all of that just stops after she dies.
Yeah, I can understand how. I mean, that is a bit confusing. Annelied, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, calling us from False Loras. And yeah, Kanye, it does get confusing if the very same friends were there and supportive of Anele when mom was still sick, and then suddenly when mom is no more, then they're nowhere to be found, and there's no explanation. Look, and I know there's some people who struggle with just consoling. I mean, I'm not good with consoling people, but still, you must, still reach out, still check out on someone after, especially if you're that close with them and you've had friendships with them for over 10 years.
Anele, first of all, if you're still listening, I'm so sorry for your loss. I lost my mom when I was doing my last year of high school, and there's no amount of time that can make that grief go away. You learn how to live with it, and you create your life around it. And then in terms of the friends, I think we struggle with holding people when they are in pain. And sometimes in that struggle, we can feel very useless. That, when you're going through the funeral, you're so helpful. Your hands are on, but there's that after where now you have to help your friend deal with the grief and the pain. And sometimes you don't know what to say. You feel like you're saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. It's no excuse to disappear on a friend, though. And Anele asked again, well, should I be the one reaching out? My answer to that would be, coaches answering questions, get Anele, you'll forgive us. If you reach out, how does that help you in your own healing? And because you've already reached out, why would you feel like it's your responsibility to reach out again? Because what I'm hearing is Anele reached out, there was a conversation that was had, but there was then no change in behavior.
Yeah.
That even after I reached out, we have the conversation. It's like he handed them an olive branch. And instead of them taking the olive branch and saying, oh, this is how we should have showed up, let's try to show up like that now. It's still, the friendship was still stuck where it was after the funeral. And if I were to tell you what to do, I would say, then why is it your responsibility to fix things that are broken? Sometimes we have to let things break and focus on our own healing.
Yeah, absolutely. How do we know, though, Kanye, that a friendship is worth fighting for versus when it's time to just let it go? Because, sometimes you just have to make peace with the fact that there's a friendship that has just run its course. But how do I know then? Like, how do you know that, okay, this friendship, I still need to fight for this? Or actually, I think this has run its course. Or is it going to be obvious to us?
I think what makes it obvious is that my efforts are not being met. I can't be the only one that's fighting for a friendship. And you can tell when you're the only one that's fighting for a friendship. One of the things I said when we started talking is, if you're the only one that's texting and calling and making the plans and creating time and asking for availability, then that's a one-sided friendship.
That's it,
And
yeah.
that's when you go, because it's not working. It's also not working. I did a video on my TikTok about a year ago, and I said, it's so easy to show up for people who are in pain than it is to show up when people are in joy. And for me personally, that's when I test my friendships specifically. I want you to be as intentional when I am having a good time as you are when I'm having a good time. You've bought a new car. There's that thing in your intuition that says, I'm not telling this friend because they won't celebrate this new car. That's not your friend.
That's not a
There's the
friend.
friend that's not a friend. There's that friend that will one-up you on everything. You buy a house, they buy a bigger house. You get a partner, they get a better looking, whatever it is, they just have to be better than you. That's not your friend, that's your competitor. And so it's also really important to discern who people are. Because in that discernment, you get to ask yourself, what am I willing to put in this friendship?
Yeah.
And so if my discernment says, there's a history and there's a trail of unacceptable behavior, because can we also talk about how abusive friends can be? The emotional abuse, the financial abuse, that feeling when you go hang out with a friend, you hype yourself up first because they're going to drain your energy.
Yeah.
That's not your friend, that's an energy sucker.
Yeah.
And so you have to be intentional in, who do I allow in my space? And I'm also not in the belief that we have to fight for relationships. If I have to fight, it's not working. And friendships, like any other relationship, are transactional. People argue with me on this one. And it's a hill I'm willing to die on, that we have different needs, even in friendships. And so the transaction might be different based on our needs, right? You need different things, I need different things. But if I'm always the one that is meeting your needs, pouring into your own cup, but when it's time for you to, quote unquote, return the favor, you're nowhere to be found. Are you my friend?
Yeah, God.
And
oh, sorry,
yeah,
Kanye, I
and
think the line seems to be dropping there. We'll try and re-establish it. It's 11 minutes before 12 o'clock. When we come back, we'll wrap up this chat with your WhatsApp voice notes.
You are not dreaming.
You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
There's so much health information out there, but how do you know what to trust? Catch this show tomorrow from 9 a.m. for Health Matters by Cipla Africa, where we'll be unpacking important health conversations designed to help you better understand your body and well-being. Health Matters by Cipla Africa is a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Then head to Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and watch the latest Health Matters video featuring leading experts and thought-provoking conversations.
702 Family Matters.
9 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's go to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement and your guest. You know, character defines personality, and together there must be understanding. If one understands one another's character, that's where you can define whether this is friendship or this is acquaintanceship or this is net summer stappery working together. So with this being said, we are not glued to being friends forever because of the elements that I have just mentioned, character especially. And don't forget, integrity also plays a vital role in this friendship.
Hi, Clement. So I find the issue of adult friendships to have so many layers. One, we grow as people and we experience success differently. And when the other friend starts to experience success, then they are deemed to think they are better because they've achieved a certain level of success than the other friend. And that creates resentment in the other friend. And then that's why they become mute and the friendship is no longer existent. And then also people don't like relationships with depth now. They just like to look good for the gram. And they don't want that, genuine friendships. They want to just be there, have these cute meetups and then leave it there. Nothing substantial from it. Also, there's elements of, being parents and getting partners, some getting married. Some, they take those events and they let them define their entire being. And they now forget about their other parts, and people don't know how to navigate around that because now you've made your spouse or your kids your whole life, but you don't make time for your friends, and we create all these excuses. But anything that is important to us, we make time for.
It happened twice to me, Clement. Two of my very best friends. We've since drifted apart after many years of friendship. One of them I actually considered to be my brother because we've known each other since primary school, and I suspect it could be because of the women that have since come into their lives.
Yeah, we've played that voice note before. Let me read some of the WhatsApps coming through. Kingsley says, Clement, I do mourn friendships when they come to an end, but I also try to be mindful of whether that particular friendship was for a reason, season, or lifetime. Childhood friendships are the hardest to let go of, and yes, some are worth fighting for. And then another one says, Clement, I lost my best friend, my childhood friend. Looking back now, I realized just how much we understood each other and how well we got along. The strange thing is that I only truly understood the role he played in my life after he was gone. Ever since then, I found myself wishing I could find another friend like him, but I've never been lucky enough to. What stays with me is that feeling of wanting to hear his opinion, not only when life is difficult, but even when good things happen. When you achieve something, when you're unsure about something, when you just need an honest perspective from someone who knows you well. And somehow, every year that passes, I feel like I need him more, not less. I felt it last year, I felt it in the year before, and I'll probably feel it next year too. I miss him a lot. Oh, yeah, Anonymous. Oh, yeah. I wish you strength. I can almost feel the pain just reading your message. Yeah, so Kanye, as we just wrap up our conversation, what advice do you have for our listeners who are listening to this and are thinking, I think I'm in that situation where I have drifted apart from friends, but I'm also a bit worried about whether or not I should be fighting for that?
Oh no, Clement, I'm like, why did you read the sad one last? I feel so sad.
Yeah, I know. Askis. We're just out of
That
time,
was
but there are
so
many here.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be, there's one of the listeners actually mentioned that we need to learn how to compartmentalize relationships, because what we do is give people labels that they cannot hold up to, right? But if I compartmentalize my relationship, I'll know who my acquaintances are. I'll know who a friend of a friend is. I'll know who a friend is, and I'll know who a best friend is. And when I can do that, I can also adjust my expectations accordingly.
Yeah. Kanye, we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us for this chat. It's really been so insightful. Kanye Manyathela is a life coach.
Mzansi, Take-A-Lot's senior cards, and boy have you been shopping. To say thank you for all your support, we're bringing you the Thanks A Lot sale. Get up to 60% off must-have beauty, sports gear, latest tech, TV and appliances, everyday essentials, toys and more. To know you is to spoil you. Shop the Take-A-Lot Thanks A Lot sale from 25 May to 7 June.
If your data plan was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to OutSurance save 35-year-old Zanai a whopping 1,180 Rand on a 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now, and if OutSurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Why wait? SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Get ready, South Africa. Glamour, fashion, racing, and music all come together at this year's Hollywood Bets Durban July. On Saturday, 4 July, Hollywood Bets Greyville is where style and entertainment meet in a celebration of country allure. The party doesn't stop at the track. Your general access ticket gives you access to live performances from Mzansi's biggest stars, including Mikasa, Will Lindley, and Tamara Day. From chart-topping hits to feel-good vibes, experience world-class entertainment at Africa's greatest horse racing and social event of the year, the Hollywood Bets Durban July. Get your tickets now at Ticket Pro.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babise bonke.
On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Josie. Bamise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, quickly, I want to announce the two winners of this 5,000 Rand fuel voucher, courtesy of My Way, from the first and the second hour. I've been asking you, how do you save or preserve fuel during these tough times when prices have increased? And I see now that June fuel price has been adjusted, so petrol, diesel going up. So our first winner for the second hour is Caroline, who is on the line to us now. Caroline, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm good. So
Clement.
how have you been saving or preserving fuel in these tough times?
I make sure that I do all errands that needs driving in one trip. Like, for instance, I go to a doctor's appointment. I make sure that on my way from the doctor's appointment, if I have, let's say, a license to renew, I will renew the license on my way from the doctor's room.
So one trip and do several things. How about you, Sbusiso? You are in Springs. How do you save or preserve fuel?
No, Clement, because I'm traveling 210 kilometers per day. So from Springs to Devon, I'll park my car and get a lift from my work, from my colleague, which is 40 kilometers to work.
Yeah.
So from here to Springs, it's about to Devon 60 km.
Beautiful. Well, Sbusiso and Caroline, guess what? You guys walk away with 5,000 Rand fuel voucher each, courtesy of My Way. Live your way. Don't worry, you will also have an opportunity. The entire week we'll be giving away 5,000 Rand fuel voucher, courtesy of My Way, every single hour of the show. Stay listening to 702. Thank you for listening to the show today. Back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Mbali Dlamini. The man accused of killing a witness who testified before the Madlanga Commission has been denied bail by the Brakpan Regional Court. A witness who testified before the Madlanga Commission has been denied bail by the Brakpan Regional Court. The court found that Matipandile Soteni is likely to endanger the safety of witnesses or conceal and destroy evidence. The court says he may evade trial